with Matt Perrault. So not everybody, Matty. That was my 5-year-old. That was interesting.
Can I get his name one more time? Matt, what?
Lombardo. Lombardo.
Oh, you're not going on Snapchat. You're 5 years old. You're not going on Snapchat.
Thank you, sir.
Yep.
You always go on Snapchat. Here you go. No, you don't. Your mother tends to let you go on Snapchat. I don't let you go on Snapchat. You're 5.
Pushing the Odds with Matt Perrault. Weekday afternoons from 1 to 5 Eastern. Pushing the Odds with Matt Perrault.
And Michael Rose out of strings here. I'm putting the odds. The most angry I've ever been at you was when you shot me with a paintball gun. Do you remember why you shot me with the paintball gun?
Yeah, I don't know. There might have been a girl involved or something, to be honest with you. That's usually how these things work. But I do remember it because it was radio promotion. We were at this paintball place, and I think we were just getting on each other's nerves like 20-year-old dudes do. And you put your hands up, and I took a free shot at you. You did not appreciate it one bit. So I don't know if I ever apologized for that, but if I didn't, sorry, man.
I remember my rib cage being like so sore for like 3 days afterward. You hit me like 4 times. It wasn't like one shot. It was like multiple pulls of the trigger too. That you got me.
Oh, geez,
so.
it's like you completely have not forgotten about it, clearly. I didn't know I hit you that many times.
Pushing the Odds with Matt Perrault. Weekday afternoons from 1 to 5 Eastern.
Hey everybody, RJ Ochoa here from SB Nation's bloggingtheboys.com, your home for the best Dallas Cowboys coverage on the web. And did you know that we have a podcast feed? The Blogging the Boys podcast feed has daily episodes breaking down the latest and greatest in the world of America's team. We have multiple shows, multiple analysts, including a Super Bowl winner, 2-time Super Bowl champion Tony Casillas is part of our rotation, and we want to make sure you are as well. We're available on Apple, Spotify, and wherever else you get your podcast. So don't miss out. Subscribe to the Blogging the Boys podcast feed today.
Listen to the car guru himself, Mike Herzing with Matt Perrault, every Saturday morning from 7 to 8 Eastern on Let's Talk Wheels, right here on SB Nation Radio. Join Mike and Matt as they talk about everything going on in the world of cars. To get more content on your favorite team, you can check out our friends at SBNation.com. They have team-specific sites to fit your needs,
right.
whether it's basketball, baseball, NFL.
Let me see. No,
SB Nation has you.
Okay, no problem.
You're going on a trip, but where are you going to stay? How much will it cost? Well, it'll cost less by booking on BestHotelRates.com. BestHotelRates.com works with all the top hotels in the country while delivering you great hotel and room choices for the best prices. Why wait? Go to BestHotelRates.com, enter your email address, and start shopping for your next hotel room. BestHotelRates.com, it's in the name. BestHotelRates.com.
Set your system's volume control for slightly above the normal listening level.
Let's go. Second level thinking is defined as looking beyond the easy, obvious conclusions.
You got to do some smart thinking.
Welcome to the second level. On SB Nation Radio.
And on SBNationRadio.com.
Where we go beyond the box score. Presented by Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loans. Rocket Mortgage is with you every step of the way. From the O'Reilly Auto Parts Studios, here's your host, Eitan Shah.
Now we move into the 5th week for some, depending on where you are. And Sunday usually signifies the end of a week. But at this point, where are you? And you're just looking for small little pieces of live action to kind of get you through a day. And I know this is the final hour or so of this humongous WrestleMania event. And for a lot of us who are not really involved in this and don't follow along, and it's not anything as far as, hey, look, you have to watch this. I'm already pissed off at this damn company. As you know how big and how invested I was in the XFL, not only from watching, but nearly 90% hitting at that clip of pre-game and in-game bets. So I definitely missed the XFL a couple of times over. But it's more so a matter of whatever the hell they did leading up to, I would say, December. I don't know what happened. I don't know if it was AEW. I don't know if WWE simply neglected the product. What happened? But over a year ago, I got in and the stock was fairly low. It was right before some pretty big announcements were coming. The Fox Sports deal was coming. And all of a sudden, the thing just rose. it just went on a major uptick. And look, a lot of us made some decent money, depending on how much you could afford to get in. A lot of us made some money. I'll leave it at that. It was a wide range depending on how much stock you bought in WWE. And I even had it because, this is usually what people will do with a broker. If somebody is smarter, or at least you're paying somebody to be smarter than you handling your money, you say, look, if it hits a certain number, then sell. If it actually gets to that number, then unfortunately, we're going to have to sell just to make something. And I look and I'm thinking, man, I would have been cleaned out if I didn't hit that one number. So look, I get it. WrestleMania is back and they're doing it live, and it's a great live activity for a lot of people, but somebody needs to explain why the hell my stock plummeted before every other stock plummeted. And this happened a while back. So you can't blame the virus by any means. Careful what you tweet. We'll get to that coming up at Shander Show live on Twitch, twitch.tv/Shander Show.
Attention all timeshare owners. Is this what you'd like to do with your timeshare contract? Can you own a timeshare and just want out? Thousands of timeshare owners are getting out of their timeshare contracts with the help of Timeshare Compliance. Timeshare Compliance can legally terminate, tear up, shred, eliminate, trash your timeshare agreement, ending your payments forever, saving you thousands. So whether you're a victim of pressure dishonest sales agent, or you were misled with what you were buying, or you overpaid and they underdelivered, call Timeshare Compliance now for a free consultation. With one simple call, the trusted professionals at Timeshare Compliance can legally rip up your timeshare agreement and help rip up your financial suffering. You could save thousands. Call now before another payment is due. Timeshare Compliance is A+ rated by the Better Business Bureau. Call 800-718-2963. 800-718-2963.
So in the DM,
2963.
John had this cut from last night. I don't know where he's saved it.
The Big Hurt.
But I got it. I sent it to him in the DM. It's basically Windhorse talking about sports on it. It's about a minute 45 total.
Has less free testosterone. And
Probably in cut too. Let me go ahead.
Okay.
with Nugenics, I'm feeling stronger with a lot more energy and drive. You want to get back in the shape? Get Nugenics. All you have to do is send one simple text.
Frank's right. Just text MAIN to 321321 to get a complimentary bottle of award-winning Nugenics, the #1 selling free testosterone booster at GNC. Its unique man-boosting formula is powered by Testofen, a patented key ingredient clinically researched to help a man feel stronger, leaner, more energetic, and more passionate. And guys,
I'll check the. Yeah, I'm not seeing. I'll check the DMs.
those are not available in stores.
Yeah, he might have just ran it off the
text MAIN to 321
computer.
That's MAIN to 321
Do you have a retirement account worth more than $100,000? Pay close attention to what I'm about to tell you. Gold is a better way. Gold is a better way to protect your retirement, a better way to grow your retirement, and better than everything you're currently doing inside your retirement account. At Advantage Gold, we're certain that gold is going higher in price and going to outperform stocks and bonds. We've created the world's first gold protection retirement platform ever built. If you have an IRA or 401k, you can get your free access. Once you see it, you'll have no choice but to agree. Gold is a better way. And all you need to do is call our recorded line for your special quote. You can join the site for free. Just call now to get your code. 800-908-2174. 800-908-2174. 800-908-2174. That's 800-908.
Yeah, if you want to call for it, I'll have it ready to go on the computer.
Okay, yeah, I'll probably do it. Yeah, okay, thanks.
No problem.
Scratching beneath the surface. It's the second level on SB Nation Radio.
And on SBNationRadio.com.
Presented by Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loans. From the O'Reilly Auto Parts Studios, here's A-Tuck.
Mike's hot.
Couple of things. These are nothing major, because nothing major is going on. I mean, if you really want to look at what's major right now, there's something that is going on in our country that's going to impact sports, of course, where the headline is not necessarily what was said, but I get it. We're in a point right now where you almost have to make, like, daily people that are becoming positive, right, through testing. And thank goodness we're testing in more people. And unfortunately, because this is a virus, it is killing people. And you can't just keep going. Like, it doesn't matter what network you're on, right? It doesn't matter what Fox News network affiliate you're on or what MSNBC or CNN, whatever it is, right? You're stuck doing the same stuff over and over and over again. And a lot of times nothing new is coming out. And I'm not even talking about these press briefings. I think there's one scheduled in 17 minutes. Don't worry, we're not going anywhere. So we're a perfect distraction from the back and forth. But what happens is somebody says something, and because whatever somebody says, specifically a doctor, is left with a lot of gray area or middle ground, if you will, meaning there are time to fix. And that's really the key phrase that gets thrown around is, yes, bad thing can happen, but time to fix not, meaning we can actually get ahead of this. So the headline is, of course, Dr. Fauci says it's likely coronavirus will become seasonal. And from there, everybody's panicking, saying no football season, nothing like this is going to happen. We'll be dealing with this stuff for years and sports will be shut down. Forget baseball. No more baseball ever. We're never going to have baseball again. Fauci said it could become seasonal. We're never going to have baseball again. Whoa. The quote is a little different than panicking. The quote is when you start to read what's said, and I'll just give you this quick paragraph. Unless we get this globally, do you hear that? Unless we get this globally under control, there's a very good chance it will assume a seasonal nature. Look, I think anybody from Fauci to other docs have been saying this from the beginning, which is we've seen this before. Look, the common flu, seasonal, right? We know that there are viruses out there that become seasonal. It's other factors as well that play into if this is going to kill people each and every year to the level in which we have to stay home and can't leave our houses or shut down sporting events in our world. So that's the only real thing that's going on right now. But it's, again, nothing has changed. This would be like Dabo Swinney or Kirk Herbstreit or somebody else coming out and saying, don't worry, we're going to have football, or no, we're not going to have football. Even Fauci says it because he's not writing his own headlines. People that are trying to get you crazy for whatever reason are writing those headlines. But it's pretty simple. Unless we get this globally under control, there's a very good chance that it will assume a seasonal nature. Exactly. Yet that doesn't mean that people are going to be out and about next week. It doesn't mean that your governor or your mayor is going to start opening up doors. All right. Fauci said, look, that's not 100% assurance for me. Open it up. I doubt Cuomo is going to start kicking down doors in arenas and theaters and saying, all right, open up. Fauci said, unless, there's too much gray area. No, but for us, it's just going to make us crazy. For us, it's going to have us go out of our minds because we don't know what this means for sports. And you know what? Nobody does. It's the same conversation we've had yesterday, Friday, Thursday, even last week. The only thing that's different is somebody says something based on where we may be. Predictive models. Oof. Those things are going to get you. At Shander Show, we're live on Twitch, twitch.tv/Shander Show. And I don't know, again, I'm not putting it down. This is not this is not don't watch. It's on right now. So maybe you're traveling and you can't watch it, but you're listening to me and you're hoping for updates. I'm sorry, I don't know enough to give you live WWE updates, SummerSlam updates. I just want to know what the hell happened to that stock. Because a lot of people got in when that thing a year and a half ago, nearly 2 years ago, to where this was a move right here at the, I want to even say not ground level, but 2 steps up, second floor. And we saw this thing shoot up. And whoa, what happened? Next thing you know, AEW comes in. Next thing you know, there's a lot of attention on the XFL. I don't know. But I had that number and it was like, look, don't do anything until it hits this number and then you sell. And I was riding it out and I defended it. Not that I knew what I was talking about a lot, but I defended the rise. Got in at the time in which there was yet to be any type of Fox Sports announcement, yet to be any type of this huge, big, major TV deal. And look, this thing is live right now. It's live sports. I get that. But at the same time, you know, you can't have it. Here's the thing. You can't have that big of a drop, right? It can't be that humongous, huge, gigantic. I won't even say precipitous because it wasn't. I mean, that was like in a month, everything was gone. And luckily I had that number to move. I just don't know, still don't know. And I kind of turned my back because once I sold, it was enough for me. It was kind of like, all right, what more can I get? I told you, be careful what you tweet. So Amari Cooper was under a lot of different lights, if you will. You had the trade go down, or the signing part of me go down. And I don't know why Rex Ryan is just opening his mouth. I never got Rex Ryan as an analyst, but for some reason, people love him. We'll talk to Matt Lombardo. He covers that region in about 20 minutes, so maybe he has something. Look, Rex Ryan, to me, is an ultra poor man's Charles Barkley. He didn't even have the cachet or credibility that Barkley would have on the floor without winning a ring. I mean, you need to have a lot of credibility, cachet, cred, whatever you want to lay it out, to not have a ring and rip people that do, right? Now, just that's why I say ultra poor man's, because we're not talking about people with rings or not, but Rex Ryan has found himself in this analyst role. And I don't know, not to rip him personally, I just think that there are a bunch of other analysts out there that actually give you something as opposed to just, as I don't know, with bells and whistles without any substance. So, of course, he calls Amari Cooper a turd on that clip that was on ESPN. And Darius Slay, now this is where it gets funny. Darius Slay quotes a tweet from Marcus Mosher, who covers the Cowboys. It's at Marcus_Mosher. Now, this was back in March 6th. And it's a reel. It's a 90-second reel of Amari Cooper's plays in 2019. So Mosher tweets it, says, here are the best plays from Cowboys wide receiver Amari Cooper in 2019. So, of course, Darius Slay quotes that tweet, sends it back to Rex Ryan, says, Rex Ryan, you sleep, with 3 exclamation points. Now, normally and objectively, no problem with that. Rightfully so. Look, Amari Cooper is a talent at wide receiver, and Rex Ryan is an idiot. So for those two things to combine, Darius Slay and anybody, you, me, we all had every right to do that. Here's the difference. Like Darius Slay, I wouldn't quote that tweet and say, Rex Ryan, you sleep, or Rex Ryan, you're an idiot, or Rex Ryan, anything, because I, like Darius Slay, if he's not physically, will soon be physically, am in Philadelphia. And I don't have anywhere near the amount of people paying attention to me here in Philadelphia that Darius Slay does. But I can tell you this, a lot of people caught that. Now, look, here in Philadelphia, there's something that is sacred. And it doesn't have to be reciprocated, because I know it's not. And I don't need to bring Newey Scruggs or anybody else, that Marcus down there in Dallas on there to confirm this. We know that it's more one-sided than not. We know there's no Eagles week in Dallas like there is a Dallas week here in Philadelphia 2 times over. It's not about that. It's about internally. And I don't think that this is Darius Slay coming in and making a mistake. I'm not taking a shit. No. Look, the fact that Darius Slay is on my football team is a great thing, is a humongous positive, right? I'm loving that. But I think it's hilarious because it's almost the equivalent of the welcome to Philadelphia moment when somebody steps out on Twitter and goes to like the worst of the worst cheesesteak place, right? So there's Jim's and, well, Jim's, I'll put Jim's aside for a second. There's Pat's and Geno's. And whenever you see Philadelphia on a national broadcast, whenever you see the city of Philadelphia, if it's the Sixers on ESPN, if it's the Eagles on Monday or Sunday Night Football, Flyers, NHL Game of the Week, MLB Game of the Week, whatever. If Philadelphia is on display, then of course you're going to get that cliche shot of this area, 9th and Passyunk is where it's at, South Philadelphia, and Pat's and Geno's stand on opposite corners. And they are the McDonald's of Philadelphia cheesesteaks. It's like, wow, you go there and it's a tourist trap. It would be like going to Tokyo or going to Berlin or going to Sao Paulo. It would be like going somewhere outside of this country and going to McDonald's for dinner or for lunch. You're thinking to yourself, oh, well, I need to hit some American cuisine. Give me a McDonald's Big Mac. It's not something that anybody in. So if Darius Slay were to come out and be like, man, Pat Steak's the best steaks in Philadelphia or something, half the people would be like, dude, they pay you. And the other half of the people would be like, oh my God, you see that emoji, right? With the hand over the face, like face palm. Bro, something along those lines. Now, if you're following along on the stream at Chandra Show, twitch.tv/Chandra Show, you're listening on the network or beyond on the app, I'm sure this has happened wherever your city is. I want you to think about this because I'm going to read you some responses to the Darius Slay tweet. But usually this is about cuisine with your respective city, right? Usually for here in Philadelphia, a lot of it has to do with cuisine and it has to do with Philadelphia cheesesteaks because lo and behold, you can go to what looks to be some hole-in-the-wall bodega and you go in there and you're going to get one of the best cheesesteaks, Philadelphia cheesesteaks you've had in your life. There are a lot of spots not named Pat's and Geno's. No knock on Pat's or Geno's. We just don't do that. Jim's is on this famous street called South Street, and it's touristy because South Street is touristy, but they make a decent steak. You'd still get caught. You'd still get called out, I think, if Darius at _BigPlaySlay23 came out and was all, Jim's is the best Philadelphia cheesesteak in Philadelphia, don't at me, coming from Detroit, right? People would be like, bro, we get it. We're thankful for your service, but why don't you keep the cheesesteaks, talk to us? Now, to be fair, I'm not going to Chicago and going to the biggest, most historic cliche tourist trap for a deep dish pizza or a hot dog and say, this is the best hot dog. And you don't do that. You don't go to, same thing in Kansas City. We have a story about that with Adam Schefter igniting some sort of barbecue back and forth. But people are really protective of that. And Darius kind of opened this up just because he made a small little mistake, Philadelphia fans, and it's more a Philadelphia complex than anything else. But the thing is, we all have complexes when it comes to where we live, and we're very protective of our cuisine. I noticed that way more than we are sports. Yes, obviously we're going to be most protective. Maybe not in Philadelphia. I think it's a toss-up. I don't know what we're more protective of, the Philadelphia cheesesteak authentic or the Philadelphia Eagles. I don't know. But it doesn't matter if you're not a diehard sports fan or a diehard food fan. At some point, your city, your town, where you live has been through that, where somebody new has come through and you kind of have to walk it back and be like, look, we love that you're here, star athlete, but maybe you should back it up. In fact,
have you heard of the burger battle between In-N-Out and Whataburger?
Yes.
That's all the rage here in Texas.
All right. I'm going to read some responses coming up from Darius Slay. And just think about that, right? So Jack gave you the Whataburger In-N-Out battle. I've been out, and anybody in LA knows where it began with Fatburger and In-N-Out. This is, I think, the difference here in Philadelphia is people in Philadelphia don't acknowledge Jim's and Pat's, and Jim's, Geno's really, and Pat's, Jim's to a lesser extent. So think about that, how protective you might be wherever you are, your region, your area, as we continue to get this replay of WrestleMania where there's actually people in the stands. Imagine that. It's the second level.
Wake up there. And then people are just like, you know what? I'm so... No problem. Hey, I really got to go to the bathroom. I'll be right back.
So what they'll say is, all right, got kids, it was so bad, I was so bored, 20, 30, there was this guy named Drake, you probably heard of him in your history books, I watched him twerk on some Instagram feed.
That'll be I walk to school upload both ways.
That'll be it.
That's the struggle we're in now.
Yeah.
We're watching Drake twerk on Instagram.
That's what it'll be. It's like, Mom, Dad, how bad was it in 2020? It was so bad. Back then, we would watch this guy twerk on Instagram. It was so awful, but it was the only thing we had. We just needed something, anything to get us through this. And Drake twerking was the thing that got us through it. There's no rhyme or reason to it. It's just what we did back then to survive. And then the kids will be amazed. And they'll be even more impressed with our generation than ever before.
Wake Up Call with Tony D and Ron Culver. Weekday mornings. Introducing AutomotiveMap.com, a brand new website for anyone interested in what's happening in the world of automobiles. From reviews on the latest vehicles to vintage rides to tips on keeping your family safe on the road, AutomotiveMap.com has something for you. If you love cars, trucks, and SUVs and the amazing technology hitting your favorite showroom, check out the brand new AutomotiveMap.com. Pushing the odds with Matt Perrault.
Let's talk to Bob Nightingale from USA Today, Major League Baseball columnist, joining us here on the Progressive Guest Line about this potential start time for baseball. So July 4th is being floated right now as a potential start date for Major League Baseball. One, how realistic could that be? And two, how serious are the conversations about a start date on July 4th for baseball?
Yeah, I'm not serious at all, just because nobody knows. I mean, why not July 1st? Why not, June 30th or, August 1st? Nobody has any idea when it starts. Before it was Memorial Day, holiday weekend. But hey, if they start grading without fans, makes no sense to start July 4th. Good fans don't come in anyway. Probably rather be outside than sitting home watching games on TV. So, that makes July 4th, it's just a private sky thing.
Pushing the odds with Matt Perrault. Weekday afternoons from 1 to 5 Eastern. SB Nation Tonight with John Michaels.
Deontay Wilder, I don't want to call him this because I actually like Deontay as a person, but what he looked like to me was a bully who got punched and didn't know how to react. What's the guy's name on A Christmas Story? Farkas, Scott Farkas, the redhead. Remember, Farkas beats up all the school ground kids. And then when Ralphie beats his butt, Farkas has no answer. That was Deontay Wilder.
SB Nation Tonight, weeknights at 10 Eastern on SB Nation Radio.
Come back.
Scratching beneath the surface. It's the second level on SB Nation Radio.
And on SBNationRadio.com.
Presented by Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loans. From the O'Reilly Auto Parts Studios, here's Eitan.
Mike's hot.
Matt Lombardo's going to join us coming up in 10 minutes. Get some thoughts on the NFL free agency that's come to an end, and of course the draft that's a couple weeks away. There are a couple of things that need to happen for the NFL that will further with Matt. An hour from that, Matt Mullen is going to join us. He's back with us, Philly Voice and Beyond. On Westworld is back tonight. Last night we had Dan Buffa, and Dan responded to the Twitter question, not really a poll or anything, but kind of a question I threw out earlier before the show at Shander Show. You can follow along if you're not already on Twitch, twitch.tv/Shander Show. Basically just saying, look, I miss the XFL. I do. What one thing in sports would you bring back just for the week? And the reason why I said the XFL and not the Sixers or the Flyers or anything along those lines is because of the amazing clip that I was able to run at this year in the XFL, both in and pregame when it came to bets. So a bunch of people responded, and I'll read you some of those, including, of course, Dan Buffa at Buffa82, who joined us last night. And I thought that was one of the best conversations that we've had on the second level in a while. No knock on anybody else. I mean, Eric Edholm was fantastic 2 hours before that. But I'm just saying the ability to stretch, and trust me, I'm grateful for the freedom and flexibility that we have on this network when there isn't a pandemic going on and we're stuck without live sports. But to have that freedom and be able to talk about a show that is so popular, immensely popular, and is binge watched, I think, in the first week without a doubt. I don't know of another show like that comes out. Look, I'm not counting a Tiger King or Tiger King clone documentary that might come out every year or so, or 6 months on Netflix. They have these documentaries, they have these things that will just pop out, but a show itself that comes out in that capacity, like Ozark on Netflix, is insane because it just hits you. And then you have the ability to control it. You're not waiting. I'm waiting in agony every week for an hour of Westworld. It's on its 3rd season. We'll talk to Mullen about that in an hour from now. And he's got a great write-up at Matt. He already tweeted that he's coming on, so you can follow along at Matt_Mullen for him. Previews he does, not recaps, which is even better. But I'm sitting and wait. I'm thinking, what's the last show that I sat and had to watch that I looked at as a favorite, as an all-timer? And I get it. And Westworld is a very difficult one for people, and it's confusing and it's frustrating, and there are 50 different timelines and you don't know what the hell's going on, and they confuse you on purpose, and they let things live and breathe for way too long, and you're, oh yeah, that's right, I remember that. And I get it. It is definitely a chore, but it rewards you. And I do feel like the acting and the writing reward you on a level that few shows do. But here I am waiting every week. And now, because we have nothing, and I'm sitting over here watching ESPN News, which is essentially a couple of guys in the World Axe Throwing Championship. Yes, World Axe Throwing League, pardon me, the WATL. And it's just bullseye after bullseye. Bullseye, bullseye, bullseye. It's like watching darts. See, people think, oh, I could watch that. I could sit and I could watch that. No, you can't. There's no change. Anything like this, darts, even pool, axe throwing, these guys are all experts, pros, everything. I've sat here since we came back from the break, 4 straight minutes, and I'm watching Nicholas Portuondo take on Strown Riley. And it's just bull after bull after bull. It's like a press conference, bull after bull after bull. In this case, you just add an I. It's crazy. So the tweet at Shander Show, I miss the XFL. What one thing in sports would you bring back just for the week? That's it. You got a week. So Buffa, of course, says, I miss playoff hockey. Now, Colin Thompson weighs in at Colin Thompson TU. The XFL Vipers would have been facing the Guardians in RJ Stadium on Sunday. Raymond James Stadium would be hosting on Sunday. Now, Colin, of course, at Colin Thompson TU, played for the Vipers before they shut down Temple and played in the NFL for a little bit. So he would have been playing this Sunday. That's unfortunate because I think a lot of us looked at that and thought, man, that would have been the perfect lead-in to this year's NFL season. But unfortunately, we're all stuck watching replays of axe throwing. People responding to Slay, we don't do that here, buddy. Don't know if that was in your contract. Darius, come on, man. You're an Eagle now. Dude, you're an Eagle. Love you, Darius, but you should know, ain't no complimenting Dallas players here. Amari Cooper? I thought you played for the Eagles. Shaking my head. And the last one, of course, you do know we hate everything Dallas here, right? It's just funny to see the welcome to Philly moment. And, of course, Darius is going to have some fun with this, and everybody here is going to have some fun with this. But the best part is I didn't get this from anywhere local. I didn't get this from Bleeding Green Nation. I didn't get this from Philly Voice. I got this from Detroit. Detroit Sports Nation posted this. See? Their team is so bad, they cover the guys who left because Slay is better than anybody that's there. So it might as well be more interesting anyway. Slay as an Eagle as opposed to anything they have going on in Detroit. Matt Lombardo will join us next on All Things NFL coming up here on the second level.
Attention.
All right.
Hey, can you send me his number real quick?
Yeah.
Or just say it.
No, sorry.
If you're one of the millions of Americans who are disabled and unable to work, you may be eligible for disability benefits from Social Security. Receiving benefits is your right. If you suffer from physical or mental disability, whether you're applying for the first time or you've already been denied, we can help.
We'll evaluate your situation and deal with Social Security.
Got it. I'm calling.
Cool. Thanks, man.
Best of all, there's no fee until you receive your benefits. Remember, we only get paid if you win your case. There are many reasons and conditions that may make you eligible for disability benefits. Many of them you may not be aware of. So if you're disabled and unable to work, call now to get started with your free, no obligation consultation.
800-477-5395. 800-477-5395. That's 800-477-5395.
Tired of paying outrageous prices for Viagra? Well, we have great news. Now you can finally get Viagra at huge discounts. Generic sildenafil allows you to save up to $650 on Viagra. Why pay name brand prices of $15 per pill or more when you can get the same results for less than $3 a pill? Call today and get 50 generic sildenafil pills for only $99. This can cost as much as $750 at your local pharmacy. You can't afford not to call us. If you want Viagra at the lowest prices, never pay $15 a pill for the name brand again. Get generic sildenafil for less than $3 a pill. Call 800-450-5582 today and save up to $650 and get
We got him.
Thanks,
for
man.
just $99.
Of course.
Sildenafil is fast, easy, and affordable. Operators are waiting to take your call now. Call 800-450-5582. That's 800-450-5582. Again, 800-450-5582.
Attention all timeshare owners. Is this what you'd like to do with your timeshare contract? Do you own
Oh wow, he's a New Yorker.
Who's that?
Matt Lombardo.
No, he's
contract
he's filling up.
with the
He's
help of
filling up.
timeshare compliance?
Oh, he just has Giants beat reporter on this.
Yeah,
team.
he covers them up there,
Tear up, shred,
but he's from here.
Oh, okay, cool.
timeshare agreement, ending your payments forever, saving you thousands. So whether you're a victim of a high-pressure, dishonest sales agent, or you were misled with what you were buying, or you overpaid and they underdelivered, call Timeshare Compliance now for a free consultation. With one simple call, the trusted professionals at Timeshare Compliance can legally rip up your timeshare agreement and help rip up your financial suffering. You could save thousands. Call now before another payment is due. Timeshare Compliance is A+ rated by the Better Business Bureau. Call 800-718-2963. 800-718-2963. 800-718-2963.
Scratching beneath the surface. It's the second level on SB Nation Radio.
And on SBNationRadio.com.
Presented by Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loans. From the O'Reilly Auto Parts Studios, here's Eitan Shen.
Your mic's hot.
Well, thanks to Brad Wheelis at Longhorn 78 for not only listening but weighing in with a great tweet. So Brad says, I agree with you about Westworld. One of my favorite movies is Inception, and people hated it because it makes you think outside the box. And that's a weekly chore now for Westworld, is it's forcing you to think outside the box. I don't know if people are leaving, like just pulling the ripcord, but I know a lot of people left after the first season or so. Matt Lombardo joins us right now at Matt Lombardo NFL is how you can follow along. All things NFL, Giants, New Jersey Advanced Media, which is the Star Ledger, NJ.com. Lambo. So first off, how you doing, man? Everything going all right? Are you homeschooling away right now?
Hey, what's happening, brother? Everybody is good on this end. We're hunkered down. I just looked at my Starbucks app earlier this morning because typically part of my morning routine is to hit Starbucks for my morning coffee. I have not gotten in my car since March 8th. So a little bit cabin fever, but everybody's doing well. Hopefully you and yours and the listeners are doing fine as well. Certainly it's scary, unprecedented times out there, but no real complaints on this end.
Okay, so that's actually really interesting. You haven't gotten in your car in a month, let's say, right? Give or take. You said March 8th?
March 8th was the last time I got in my car.
So now I violated only because my fiance, so technically my sister and brother-in-law, they live a mile and a half down the street and they're quarantined like we're quarantined. So nope, they're not leaving. We're not leaving. We can go and interact. The thing is, I'm looking at it and I'm like, outside of that, I'm probably with you. Like, you haven't gone to Target. You haven't gone anywhere. You have not left your house in nearly a month. You should get a medal for that.
Yeah, I mean, look at it this way. We have the toddler here. My wife has asthma, so she's in a higher risk category. And just looking at what we know about this virus and what we don't know, we've just been, having growth. Don't see them to go out and about, and certainly you just can't be too cautious, it seems like, right now with everything going on.
Well, I can't get anything delivered anymore. I had a nice little run for Whole Foods where they were able to deliver through the Amazon app, and I'm just using Whole Foods because I had the Amazon app and they were delivering. But now everything's shut down where I'm at. I feel like I might have to go back out and actually go to the store.
You got to get the Instacart app.
I thought they should. No, wait a second. Instacart. I thought everybody went on strike.
Well, they're still delivering, as far as I know.
Are they making middle management go out there?
I have no idea who's going out and about and what precautions they're taking. I just know that anything, if the food gets in my house, it gets wiped sanitized before it comes in the door. So it doesn't matter to me whether it's middle management, the drivers, whoever. Drivers should be paid more than they're being paid.
Absolutely.
Taken care of in terms of the mask and the gloves. They're the ones out there doing God's work, so you and I can sit at home and try to avoid this the best we can.
So here's the thing. That's the one thing that I love watching. I'm out walking my dog and keeping distance from everybody as I'm walking my dog. And we're watching. It's the same practice. This is when you know that this whole thing is hit. And it doesn't matter who you are, where you live. The process of watching somebody go out front, spray down, like depending on what they're wearing, right? Gloves, spray down a box or two or three. It's just hilarious because this is the new norm right now. Is you better Lysol the hell out of that FedEx package.
Yeah, I mean, I think I saw on TV some doctors said treat it like hazardous material before it gets in the house. So, yeah, I mean, we're all being cautious. We're all doing what we need to do. And, the hope is that we don't rush back into the old normal and flare up again with more viral outbreaks, over the next coming, weeks and months. But at the same time, hopefully the healthcare workers and everybody stays safe, and hopefully we can flatten this curve enough so that everybody stays home, and hopefully we don't tax the healthcare system more than it already has been, and eventually we can get back to normal, at least a semblance of that.
Okay, so one thing that popped up on the show yesterday, and I wanted to talk with you about this, is the idea that, we still are going to be in a situation come the start on the schedule of the NFL season where fans can't be there. And you're not going to have a ton of people outside of the essentials, but that really is about 400 to 500 people anyway in any given NFL stadium. You are covering a team. You're up there at NJ.com for the Jets and Giants. New York is clearly North Jersey in the thick of it. How much of what's going on now, do you think, Matt, is hampering, and rightfully so, at least hurting the process for the Giants and Jets more so than a team that's maybe in the middle of an area that's not decimated by the virus?
Yeah, Tom, I actually read about this as it pertains to the draft process with my colleague Mike Kay about a week ago. It's not just a hotspot issue. It's not just a New York issue or a Seattle issue or an LA issue. It's the entire league. The teams, their facilities are shut down. You have general managers and coaches scattered about, taking part in Zoom meetings. The pro days for college prospects are typically you'd have assistant coaches, sometimes even head coaches on the road with scouts, getting some face time with the prospects, getting face time with their coaches, trying to get any sort of intelligence they can, not just on the prospects in this year's draft, but the kids who are going to be eligible in 2021. All of that's going away. There's no travel, there's no pro days, there's no workouts at the facility, there's no workouts on college campuses, and the teams are relying on Zoom or Skype meetings with these draft prospects. They're relying on film or pro days that hopefully was videotaped up to NFL standards with the cameras placed in the right area so that the scouts can get a proper look at what they're watching on film. And it's really created all kinds of unprecedented uncertainty when it comes to who's going to get drafted late in the draft and who isn't. Because look, the top 10 picks, the first round picks, we all know who they are. The teams have enough data on them. When you talk about 6th and 7th round picks, guys who might get drafted and have a portion of their contract guaranteed, those guys might be undrafted free agents. So there is going to be so much uncertainty in the later rounds about these late round prospects because teams just don't have the intel and they're not on the ground right now, getting to know these guys as intimately as they had in years past.
Is there a player that you've identified for the Giants and maybe a colleague or you, because I know that both teams in this point right now are in that same area. Is there a player that you've identified maybe in the first 3 to 4 rounds that would be a fit, would be a likely target for the Giants and Jets that now, because of the situation, no physicals and things along those lines, the team would stay away from?
Yeah, I don't think that it's so much Eitan about the first couple rounds. I think it's about the last couple rounds. And the one kid that I spoke to, Aesop Winston, the wide receiver from Washington State, not necessarily a speed guy, but more of a possession receiver. Probably a 6th or 7th round pick under normal conditions. But now you don't know. But he did run a 4.42 in the 40-yard dash at his mock pro day at his training facility. And I know that he had a virtual meeting with the Jets. So certainly they're kicking the tires, as were the Chargers, the 49ers, the Colts, and a couple of other teams. But those are the type of players that you're talking about, the late round, potential 7th round picks or undrafted free agents who now don't have this element of the process working at all. So you're going to see probably some more misses late in the rounds because teams are doing a lot more guesswork. You're probably going to see guys who are overdrafted, and on the flip side of that coin, maybe you're going to get a few more undrafted free agents who have a chance to stick on rosters this summer and fall because, teams wind up getting a diamond in the rough because another team didn't have the opportunity to meet with them and wind up drafting.
Is there something right now that would indicate to you that the draft would be postponed, or are we full steam? Because I know over the last 2 or 3 days, and we're chatting with Matt Lombardo at Matt Lombardo NFL, all things NFL, NJ.com. I know that we've moved in the last 4 or 5 days from everything will be virtual to everything is virtual, and people are going to be GMs and front office people are going to stay home and do this from their living rooms, not from the team facility. I guess the next step, or maybe the step after that, would be just to postpone this. Are we at all close to a postponement, or dare I even say cancellation?
No, not to the draft. I think that when you listen to Roger Goodell and you look at some of the memos that got sent out to teams over the last week, and as you said, the reporting that's come out that these are going to be virtual drafts, whether it's through Zoom meetings or Skype or what have you, how these picks are actually announced. And the commentators are going to be from their home offices and all of those things. You're not going to have Chris Berman on the set with Mel Kiper Jr. and Todd McShay. These guys are all going to be at their own homes. As far as the draft is concerned, that's full steam ahead. That's on schedule. I don't see anything really altering the draft happening at this point on schedule. But I'll be really fascinated to see what happens with the actual schedule of the games, because you can't really project or predict 5 months out what is going to be the situation in this country with this virus. Because you look at New York right now, they might or might not be reaching their peak. You look at California right now with LA and those teams, and certainly the San Francisco 49ers, those teams, they're in their peak. Governor Ainsley came out and said that they don't expect to have fans in the seats in September. Seattle remains a hot spot. Then you have teams across the country, in places like Kansas City and certainly Florida and Dallas and Houston. You can't really predict what the situation is going to be. So in my opinion, it would be foolish of the NFL to go ahead and release a schedule on or around May 8th because there's just too many contingency plans. What happens if you can't play end games in California? What happens if Seattle becomes a hotspot and New York continues to worsen? I think the NFL, while they've been kind of toned up through this whole thing and been full speed ahead with their offseason as usual, if I'm Roger Goodell, if I'm the NFL, I'm postponing putting out the schedule until I know for certain what I'm looking at in terms of where the virus is, what the other sports have had to do. Because remember, there are stadiums around the league that share parking lots or stadiums with baseball teams, parking lots certainly with NBA teams. Just too many moving parts, in my opinion, to go ahead and release a schedule when you don't have an understanding of what the virus will be or what those other leagues are doing.
I wonder if there's any discussion about moving up the season start, meaning there could be, and I know that this is based off of human behavior that is very difficult to predict next week, let alone 3 months from now. But if in fact there is concern that this comes back in November, December, and this becomes something that begins again, I wonder if there's any discussion about, look, are we better off running a shortened season in February, or are we better off running a shortened season that begins like start of August?
Yeah, I think that, I'll throw a third wrinkle into this. I've seen Pro Football Talk put forth a similar proposal. Resorts and hotels are shut down in Hawaii right now, right? If you could test every member of the NFL, from players, coaches, support staff, family members of players and coaches, etc., and you could take in, a few of the resorts in Hawaii, quarantine the entire hotel staff, the entire team, the entire family support system of these teams. Could you not envision a scenario where you play the entire season in Hawaii at the Aloha Bowl, where the Pro Bowl used to be staged, because you would minimize the contact with the outside world? You would certainly, if one player gets infected, it would throw off the entire season, which is the case anyway. But you'd mitigate some of that risk by having everyone kind of quarantined in the same place. I just think there's just too much unknown in terms of whether you can play games in February or in September or August. And I think if I'm Roger Goodell and I'm the NFL, I have to have every option on the table.
Yeah, you better be careful, because one asymptomatic person flies over there, and next thing you know, you talk about a surge that's not prepared to happen. I mean, think about how many people does it cost, or how many people does it take to run a fanless NFL game at the Aloha Bowl? 400 people?
Yeah, that's why you'd have to test everybody. You would have to test every player, every coach, anybody who's going to be involved in the quarantine when it comes to families.
Yeah.
Every bus driver who's going to be busing people back and forth, every stadium worker, everybody.
I'm concerned. South Korea tried that. They had to shut their basketball league down. China tried that. They had to shut their basketball league down. You do make a point about it being secluded, but this thing is just so difficult to predict. Are you watching anything? You watching Westworld at all? You got Westworld tonight or no? You don't watch that crap, right? Ozark.
Just finished up Ozark, and I thought it was phenomenal. I wasn't blown away by Tiger King like everybody else was, but Ozark, I think you can make a case that Ozark is one of the top 3 shows going right now on TV.
Oh, absolutely. And listen, I would love to hear what anybody thinks would be better right now. It sure as hell ain't Tiger King. Thanks, Lambo. Gentleman's Golfer. Also, I'm rocking the Gentleman's Golfer. All right, was out there today rocking that.
Oh, my man.
Look, I'm telling you, if I can't golf, I set up the golf net where I can whack balls into the net in the backyard, and I had the Gentleman's Golfer gear on.
I love it. I'll get me one of those nets, and I'll have to get you a couple more Gentleman's Golfer Supply Company hats.
Well, I owe you a Penn State shirt still, so I did not forget. Thanks, brother. Matt Lombardo, NFL. I'll explain the Penn State shirt when we get back. It's the second level.
Garth Brooks. We're going to come back with no rejoin.
That's fine.
So Brooks put up a photo of him wearing the Sanders 20 jersey on his Instagram, his Facebook, all of his social media. And people were losing it, thinking that Garth Brooks was endorsing Bernie Sanders. I kind of wish Bernie Sanders had some opinions on football, though.
Well, you could ask Larry David to be Bernie Sanders giving opinions on football.
Well, we're working on Larry David. I'll be Bernie. You can't trust a quarterback who's going to throw it on 4th and goal. You got to run the ball. I'm Bernie Sanders. I'm asking you for the football on 4th and goal.
I'm asking for your help getting the football to running backs. When I'm the head coach, everybody's going to touch the football. Left tackles, wide receivers, third string running backs. You're not a third string running back. You're just a running back. I'm not soft on defense, and I'm not soft on going for it on fourth down. This country needs risk takers.
The main event, weekday afternoons at 4 Eastern on SB Nation Radio.
If business, pleasure, or sports fandom takes you to Houston, Dallas, Austin, Fort Worth, or San Antonio, check out CultureMap.com to get the scoop on the local favorites. From the best restaurants, bars, pubs, and clubs to the biggest sights and sounds each city has to offer, Culture Map has it all. Just head over to CultureMap.com. The expert team personally reviews and visits each spot to make sure you get the best experience. And if you're coming back, sign up for free Culture Map updates at CultureMap.com.
Hey, Kevin, I tweeted about that. She's awesome, man. She's the reason why that morning show is so much backing, like prizes, relationships with the Phillies. Cindy did it all. Cindy is one of the hardest workers I've ever been around. She is insane when it comes to relationships with the people, like the teams and the station, specifically that morning show on IP. She did a lot for 1210 OGL when I was there years ago, so she's just a professional. It's terrible. Terrible. I'd hire her in a second if I could. Yeah, she did so much for a long time, man. CBS, and then when it went to Entercom, might have been Viacom and shit all the way back then.
SB Nation tonight, weeknights at 10 Eastern on SB Nation
Terrible.
Radio.
That's the one thing that the Fanatic never got. And that's the one thing that I tried to convey, and others did too, who came from IP. Because we all essentially came from IP. That's what we tried to convey is, look, it doesn't matter if it's Anthony or Mike and Mike, anybody hosting a morning show. You have to have some sort of fulfillment. You have to have a reward. Prizes, trips, big stuff. And they didn't have that.
Hey,
Yeah,
I'm
I'm
back. Mike's hot.
So if you follow along on the stream, live on Twitch, of course, twitch.tv/Shander Show, at Shander Show on the Periscope and beyond. The dog is everywhere here. Ace, the Weimaraner, he jumps up on me and just doesn't care that we're live on the air. But of course, he's down here, so he doesn't get in trouble upstairs. And for some reason, he just didn't like Matt. Matt Lombardo just joined us. So Lombo came over in a couple of days to do a show with me, a local show that I do here. And my dog didn't like bite him, but he kind of just nipped at him. And he happened to tear a really nice Nike Penn State hoodie that I now own Lombardo. I'm out like $80 for this thing. All right, man. Thank you.
Hey, no problem. John should be here any minute.
Okay, that's fine. I'll be back in a couple. So I'll be back in like 3 minutes.
No
Thanks, Jack. I'll talk to you, buddy.
See ya.
You too.
Out of the good graces of his heart, has offered to narrate your life. But one thing he won't do, and he's asking people to stop sending him your sex tapes.
Unbelievable. It was a matter of time, wasn't it?
Of course it was.
Sure, the porn is not going to be a thing, is it?
It might be time. We might have to get ready for that. That's the new reality we face in these troubling times.
Wake up call with Tony D and Ron Culver. Weekday mornings. Above it all.
Let's go! Joe Burrow, his hands measured at 9 inches. The average size of a man's hand is 7.5 inches. People are up in arms about his quote-unquote small hand. I'm so confused. I don't get it. Patrick Mahomes is like, I've been able to do all small things, so okay, whatever. Like, just go back on your tour of being the party. He's, Mahomes is dipping and dabbing into anything that he can right now. Everything. Like, anything you see Patrick Mahomes following it, and he's all the typical millennial. No, like I have to put back submit everything. I have to comment about everything, and I always have to have an opinion. Like, bruh, chill. Just make sure we come with the same energy for next season. It has to last. Because I promise you, if he does not have a similar or better season, to fire Travis Kelce to be fired. You know what I'm saying?
Above it all with Candace Cooper and Tiffany Marshall. Weekday mornings at 10 Eastern on SB Nation Radio. Tom Phillips, Earl Campbell, Dan Pastorini, the lovely Blue Era Houston Oilers. Experience 1970s football with red, white, and Columbia blue. The new audiobook at Houston79.com. A game-by-game recap of the 1979 Houston Oilers season, featuring player interviews and new insights. Step into the huddle for legendary games against the Steelers and Cowboys, and relive one of the most controversial plays ever, the Mike Renfro play. Red, white, and Columbia blue. Download now at Houston79.com. And now, pushing the odds with Matt Perrault.
This is the problem for a sport like baseball. It is an outdoor sport that must be played in nice weather. And the window for nice weather in certain parts of the country, Chicago, Philadelphia, New York, Boston, the window is quite small. I actually am somebody who believes that baseball should be going and playing in Arizona and in Florida once this thing calms down. And I think having teams be centrally located, I think finding a facility, a hotel that probably is empty, and putting your team there, it stinks. You're going to be away from your family. You're going to be away from your normal life. But that, to me, is a must. I just don't see how in the world you put, like, the New York Yankees in New York. Like, how?
Pushing the odds with Matt Perrault. Weekday afternoons from 1 to 5 Eastern.
Wake up call! Speaking of crazy quarantine, can you tell me what's going on with your quarterback, Ben Roethlisberger? Why he looks like he just came out of a cave? Well, how long is... What's up, Baton? He looks unbelievable. He basically looks like all of us when this is said and done. Yeah, like, right. If we want to know what we're going to look like, Ben Roethlisberger is your target. Yeah, exactly.
Wake up call with Tony D and Ron Culver. Weekday mornings.
Wake up call! I like the NFL approach to this, even though I have no idea if the season is going to start on time. But here's the thing, neither do they. They're just saying, we don't know.
Yo.
So until we know,
What up, man?
What up?
Things do. Hey, what you got for the tweet for the second hour?
Just give people a little glimmer of hope.
The one thing in sports you bring back for the week, the most overrated television show on right now.
I think it's important that they keep
And
you know what? And it's going to be fine.
my guy Matt Mullins coming on at 7:40.
You're still going to get the highlight reel.
So it's Matt _ Mullen, MULLIN.
You're still going to get all that.
What does he cover?
So he's going to come on and talk about Westworld and like top TV shows.
Yeah, cool.
Headed to Texas to watch your team play, but don't know where to go for that pregame drink? Visit CultureMap.com for all of the hottest spots in Houston, Austin, Dallas, Fort Worth, and San Antonio. From the most popular bars to those favorite dining gems, Culture Map has it all. Then before you leave town, why not visit some of the best places to shop or see some of the sights? Culture Map has extensive coverage on all the things to do in the city you're in. So check out CultureMap.com. That's CultureMap.com. Listen to the car guru himself, Mike Herzing with Matt Perrault, every Saturday morning from 7 to 8 Eastern on Let's Talk Wheels, right here on SB Nation Radio. Join Mike and Matt as they talk about everything going on in the world of cars. To get more content on your favorite team, you can check out our friends at SBNation.com. They have team-specific sites to fit your needs, whether it's basketball, baseball, NFL, or the school you graduated from. SB Nation has you covered.
Introducing AutomotiveMap.com, a brand new website for anyone interested in what's happening in the world of automobiles. From reviews on the latest vehicles to vintage rides to tips on keeping your family safe on the road, AutomotiveMap.com has something for you. If you love cars, trucks, and SUVs, and the amazing technology hitting your favorite showroom, check out the brand new AutomotiveMap.com.
Set your system's volume control for slightly above the normal listening level.
Let's go. Second level thinking is defined as looking beyond the easy, obvious conclusions.
You got to do some smart thinking.
Welcome to the second level. To the second level on SB Nation Radio.
And on SBNationRadio.com.
Where we go beyond the box score. Presented by Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loans. Rocket Mortgage is with you every step of the way. From the O'Reilly Auto Parts Studios, here's
Mike's hot.
Gander.
Not only have I had a ton of time, like you have a ton of time right now to watch and go back and relive those great TV shows, or maybe catch up on an amazing show that you've been told is amazing and you want to see just how amazing it is. I get that. We've all done that. I'm on my 5th week coming up of quarantining. So save me on the, well, I've seen the why. We've all gone back and watched all those shows. But now, over the last week, I've ventured out and tried to watch shows that I knew I wasn't really going to be into the first time around, but thought, why not? Let me try it out. And I have to be honest, I watched, and I'm not a one and done person when it comes to a show. Movies are different because they're meant to be. But I watched, and I gave it a couple of episodes. I really did. I did not just watch one or bail halfway through. This was not me walking out of Suburban Commando decades ago, not really knowing or believing that it could be that bad. This was much different. This was something that, like you, I'm sure would talk, hey, you got to watch this show. You got to watch this show. So I started watching the show. Never laughed. I looked over at the person I'm watching the show with, and I thought, wait, are we supposed to be laughing? Because neither one of us have laughed. And I don't mean out anybody, but neither one of us have laughed at all. And this episode's almost over. So we watched another one. Same thing. And look, I get it. My humor might not be your humor, and stuff is different around there, but I laugh at The Office. I laugh at King of Queens. I laugh at Seinfeld. I laugh at a lot of stuff. King of the Hill, bad to good sitcoms. All right. I gave you a couple of bad, a couple of good. So it ranges. But I sat and I watched 2 episodes of the Goldbergs, and I didn't even nudge towards laughing. And it's not that I dislike it, but I didn't get it. I didn't get not the episode. I got the episode, but who wants to watch Jeff Garlin yell and scream? Isn't that why you watch Curb? Now, there's another show that might be even more overrated than the Goldbergs. We'll hit on that. Plus this Activity next.
This is an urgent health notice for all resident.
What activity did you say?
Oh, app. I had this story I forgot before I gave you this week. That's fine.
Okay.
We'll still do the tweet that I put up.
Yeah, it's already.
Yeah, no, that's fine, because that's based off my tweet.
Okay,
so it's perfect. Yeah.
These items may even be covered by Medicare or your private insurance. The Health Alert Hotline is your brace company. These specialized braces have been tested for pain relief. Call us toll-free right now to determine your eligibility and to learn how to use your private insurance or Medicare to minimize your out-of-pocket costs. Don't wait. If the deadline passes, you may lose your opportunity to get a pain-relieving back, neck, knee, or wrist brace at little or no cost to you.
800-608-1881. 800-608-1881. 800-608-1881. That's 800-608-1881.
Texting enrolls you in recurring automated text messages. Message data rates may apply.
Hi, I'm Frank Thomas, the Big Hurt. After I left baseball, I just couldn't stay in shape like I used to. Turns out, once you hit 40, your body has less free testosterone, and that can make it harder to get into shape. So I got back into the game with Nugenics. I'm feeling stronger with a lot more energy and drive. You want to get back into shape? Get Nugenics. All you have to do is send one simple text.
Frank's right. Text MAIN to 321-321. Get a complimentary bottle of award-winning Nugenics, the #1 selling free testosterone booster at GNC. Its unique man-boosting formula is powered by Testofen, a patented key ingredient clinically researched to help a man feel stronger, leaner, more energetic, and more passionate.
And guys, she'll like the difference too.
Nugenic samples are not available in stores. To get your complimentary bottle, text MAIN to 321321. That's MAIN to 321321.
Non-attorney spokesperson. Could you almost get into foreclosure? Are you behind on your mortgage payments? Does it seem like the bank has no interest in helping you save your home? And you feel like you have nowhere to turn for help? Then we have good news for you. Foreclosure Protection Services can help save your home as they specialize in foreclosure assistance. That's all they do. If you're behind on your mortgage payments, been threatened with foreclosure, have been denied a loan modification, or been the victim of a predatory loan, it's critical that you call Foreclosure Protection Services now at 800-946-1013. Their network of attorneys and their agents are available to speak to you now. If you're behind on your mortgage payments, Foreclosure Protection Services can help stop the foreclosure process. Call today before it's too late. New laws are in effect that may save your home. Call Foreclosure Protection Services now at 800-946-1013. 800-946-1013. That's 800-946-1013. Dealing with those. You're listening. You're listening to The Second Level on SB Nation Radio.
And on SBNationRadio.com.
Presented by Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loans. From the O'Reilly Auto Parts Studios with Scores.
Mike's hot.
Shander.
So I'm still trying to figure out what the hell happened to the WWE stock as you're watching, I guess, or you have the option to watch tonight, the pre-taped WrestleMania, and everybody's waiting. I guess everybody, meaning the group of people that are involved in watching this, are involved in trying to react to whatever the hell Rob Gronkowski is doing or saying. That would be enough to push me out. Like, if I knew WrestleMania was on and I'm a wrestling fan, and even though it's taped, because you can't have anybody now in that stadium, that arena, that Orlando thing, and I knew it was taped and it was airing for months ago, the fact that Rob Gronkowski is a part of it pushes me away. Now, I'm not here to judge. I'm here to explore. Like, what would it be about Rob Gronkowski that you would need that would make you want to run to the TV set? You're already a sports fan. If you're watching, now this is not for somebody who has no idea what WrestleMania is or WWE and couldn't tell you the difference between a right angle or Kurt Angle. Nothing like that. I'm saying for people that are already watching, for people that are already invested in worldwide wrestling entertainment, why or how is Rob Gronkowski any type of anchor to pull you in? In fact, he's the ultimate cheapener of things. Like, you add Gronk, he's the Jim's and Pat's and Geno's cheesesteaks I was talking about here in Philadelphia. He is as cliche, and he's the tourist trap. That's what he is. Everything Rob Gronkowski is New Year's Eve. I can't imagine, like, I couldn't even fathom the fact that there's actually somebody out there who decided that, you know what, the New Year's Eve ball drop, the jumping the shark, all that stuff for the ball drop, we can actually make it more cliche. We can make it more jumping the shark. We can make it more over the top ridiculous. Let's add Rob Gronkowski. And who is out there that is gravitating towards this? And look, it's no knock. Let the guy cash as many checks. And if there are people out there that support him enough to where he's everywhere, that's fine. I'm not calling for him to be fired or anything like that. I am just, I don't know. I don't know what I am. But when I look at a situation where Rob Gronkowski is involved in fill in the blank, for me, and this is just me, I guess, I don't know how many other people are with me, that's a turnoff. That's not something that I would gravitate towards. I gave you the WATL that I was watching earlier, the World Axe Throwing League. If you added Rob Gronkowski to this, click, I'm out. The only thing that Rob Gronkowski does for me that I'm interested in is playing football, so I can either bet or run some fantasy off you. And look, it's just the reality of who he is. He's not anybody of substance. There is no substance behind him. Nothing. So how all of a sudden is WrestleMania better? And this is what I'm asking. I'm not leading you. I'm not cornering you with a statement that I'm daring you to respond at Shander Show, live on Twitch, of course, twitch.tv/Shander Show. I don't know what the appeal would be. Because for me, if I saw that, I'd get the hell out as fast as humanly possible. And I don't know what they're doing with Gronk's lines or anything along those lines. You know, I don't know what that is. But for me, I can't think of anything outside of playing football. Even announcing. The guy was in studio and that was enough. Wasn't it enough for you? What the hell was he bringing in studio for that Fox pregame show? Nothing. The guy can't even talk about football. Why else would you want him out there talking about anything? And look, there are plenty of people out there in the world of sports, entertainment, actors, musicians. There are plenty of people that can talk about the stuff that he's done or gone through outside of playing football. If you want to look at partying or all the other, he's not unique to that. I don't know. I would look at this thing and just run for the hills. Gronk is throwing axes. He's now in the World Axe Throwing League. Make sure you tune in. And I get it. There are going to be a ton of people. Oh, I can't wait to watch Gronk throw some axes. Like you couldn't wait to watch Gronk talk about the ball dropping with Steve Harvey. Do you know how difficult it is to annoy Steve Harvey? And that's what happened on the New Year's drop to now with this pre-taped WWE SummerSlam where Gronk somehow is the star of the show. That tells me everything I need to know. Everything. That I made the right choice working this shift and not watching that. That's it. Now, we asked earlier, got a bunch of different responses. The one sport, now think about this. You have one sport that you could bring back, one thing that you could bring back. Just for the week, that would be it. Depending on what you miss the most, depending on what would alleviate the stress and the pressure that you've been on. Hopefully things are not terrible where you live in your household. Hopefully you're not one of the millions upon millions of people that file for unemployment, lost their jobs. Hopefully, I can only say that knowing that there are probably a bunch of people out there just doing the numbers that have been impacted by this. So we don't have that usual distraction. And reruns of the World Axe Throwing League or reruns or a pre-taped edition of SummerSlam, that ain't really going to do it. I hate to break it to you, but that's not enough. No matter how much Rhea or Charlotte versus Rhea or any of that trends, it ain't enough. It still can't knock off the top two trends, which have to do with the politics and the politicizing of the coronavirus. What _ fuss with 3 S's says the NHL. Bring back the NHL for a week. That's all he'd want. Just 1 week of the NHL. See, I think for me, it would have to be specifically the playoffs. I might be able to. I know that there are other things that you would definitely want to watch. You might even be a diehard NBA fan. You might be somebody who is missing the college basketball tournament. Just a total disservice to sports fans and everybody out there that you can't watch the NCAAs this year. Forget even from a betting standpoint or even the bracket standpoint, just the raw entertainment standpoint. I get that. I get that. But even still, with the NHL and the NBA, I think we would have to be a little more specific. Gabe Basine at Kenny _ Basile. NBA because of games every night. Well, here's the difference. Hockey, the only way I think hockey wins this, takes over for this, the only way that the NHL truly works is if you laid out the playoffs and you gave me, ideally it would be a cup final, but you can pretty much go any round. You're going to get insane hockey, overtime hockey. It's going to be ridiculous. That's what the playoffs bring. So it doesn't even need to be the cup final so much as just some sort of playoff hockey. Now, you have to be a little more specific here in the NBA. There's nothing in the Eastern Conference that even the Sixers Bucks in the Eastern Conference Finals, which would be compelling, don't get me wrong. But that's not going to hold up to a cup final matchup, a 7-game cup final matchup that you could have over 10 days. NBA, I think you would have to specifically lay this out and say, give me the Western Conference Finals. And yeah, we've turned this thing into a little bit of a hypothetical because that's all we have right now. Matt Bonnet at M Bonnet 4, Premier League or Champions League. Tim Furlong, local here in, Delaware, isn't Tim? Yeah. NBC 10 Philly, Delaware reporter. At T Furlong tweets the Masters. Now, the Masters was set to begin. So that's why I asked this question. Chris Lomas does the same thing. Chris _Lomas _ same thing, the Masters, even with the hashtag. That's why I put this out there specifically, was because the Masters set to begin, and a lot of people knowing, of course, that whenever the majors come around in golf, we all stop and watch. And it's a nice distraction from the already existing distractions, which are professional sports, or in the case of March, collegiate sports. But the NHL, I think, only works if you're going to present some round deep in it. Ideally, it can be anything, but I'll take a cup final. NBA, I wouldn't give you the championship. NBA, I'd give you the Western Conference Finals. Both LA teams. That's the battle. That's the one matchup in the NBA that I truly am missing right now. I don't know what the hell would happen with the Sixers, okay? And I'm not going to push this hypothetical to the extreme and automatically put the Sixers in the NBA or Eastern Conference Finals against the Bucks just because I think they'll be the best matchup against Milwaukee and they're going to beat teams anywhere at home and all these other things. No. I have to be somewhat realistic or at least bound some sort of reality around this hypothetical. And with that said, I'll push for the Western Conference Final. I'll take upset shocker aside. I'll take both teams in LA battling. Maybe in Vegas in some tournament, but at the very least, I'll know that would be the matchup to hold up at. That's Shander Show on Twitter. You can follow along. The stream is up. Periscope, Twitch, twitch.tv/Shander Show. People weighing in. Kevin Cookie, 32. Only Patriots fans want to see Gronk. See, I wonder. That's an interesting point you raised, Kevin, on Twitch, which is how much do you think Patriots fan, if you're a Patriots fan, but you're not a wrestling fan, are you watching tonight? Now, we're talking about the pandemic. We're talking about a global crisis. So, yeah, I get it. You might watch it simply because what the hell else am I going to watch? But even in these circumstances, I'll cheat a little bit towards you, not Kevin, but you out there, Patriots fans. Are you honestly being brought into this because of your hero, Rob Gronkowski? See, that's what I don't get. And I don't know that. See, Kevin says only Patriots fans. And initially I'm thinking, yeah, okay, Patriots fans would be the ones. Mostly. Patriots fans would be leading the charge. But let's be honest, there are a lot of idiots out there that gravitate towards the king idiot, which is Gronk, right? So it's not just bums and morons that support that squad up in New England or even smart, intelligent fans that follow that team. I don't know. I don't know if you would truly have that, right? Where just because he was a Patriot, that would be enough to watch tonight. For me, I'd be like, all right, man, he left. It would just be a sober reminder that the guy retired early and probably could have helped even up until last year, where things ended so poorly in the last regular season game and cost home field advantage. So if I'm a Patriots fan, maybe I'm not watching out of resentment, out of spite. Screw this guy. He bailed on my team. Hall of Famer or not, best tight end or not, the guy bailed on Brady. He bailed on Belichick. He bailed on his team. He said he's healthy. What the hell? Get back out there. Instead, he's out here doing what? Color commentating for WWE's pre-taped SummerSlam? Get the hell out of here. Unbelievable, but I guess that's it. Aramis Stinson at Aramis_LOA. Gronk is a 5-minute attraction. Anything more is too much. You know, it's amazing to see just how much you can stomach him, right? Like, how much could you truly stomach Rob Gronkowski? Because I wouldn't be able to last 5 minutes. Aramis is a better man than me. Hopefully I'm pronouncing that right. Because I couldn't sit there and stomach 5 minutes of that. I wonder if you sat next to me with a timer and maybe I did it with a blindfold on. I don't know. Maybe it would be easier without seeing him. And just, I don't know, hearing him might actually drive me even crazier. You think about that, all right? 5 minutes. Can you last 5 minutes watching Rob Gronkowski do anything other than talk about football? Because I couldn't even last 5 minutes with Rob Gronkowski talking about football. More responses to our Twitter question of the night. Very simple one. At Shander Show, I said, I missed the XFL. Then ask, what one thing in sports would you bring back just for the week? One that we haven't hit, we'll hit on Twitter coming up. At Shander Show, live on Twitch, twitch.tv/Shander Show. It's the second level.
SB Nation with John Michaels.
Let's not fool ourselves. 17 games is coming, period. The NFL realizes right now, if we go to 17 games, you know what that is? More money. You're going to get basically 2 more weeks of programming out of all this. The extra game and the extra bye week. The NFL can milk that for more money out of the television networks. For the television networks, it's simple. For all the BS talk of fans who are out there that said, look, we're going to boycott the game for whatever. Whether it was players off the field activities, whether it was kneeling for the flag, whether it was the game changing in the way they're taking away some of the hard hits. People said they weren't going to participate, not going to watch. Like 9 of the top 10 programs throughout the year are NFL games. So say whatever you want, people are consuming the National Football League. And if the NFL looks at this and says, I can make more money by having more games, they're going to have more games.
SB Nation tonight, weeknights at 10 Eastern on SB Nation Radio.
Hey everybody, RJ Ochoa here from SB Nation's bloggingtheboys.com, your home for the best Dallas Cowboys coverage on the web. And did you know that we have a podcast feed? The Blogging the Boys podcast feed has daily episodes breaking down the latest and greatest in the world of America's team. We have multiple shows, multiple analysts, including a Super Bowl winner. 2-time Super Bowl champion Tony Casillas is part of our rotation, and we want to make sure you are as well. We're available on Apple, Spotify, and wherever else you get your podcasts. So don't miss out. Subscribe to the Blogging the Boys podcast feed today.
The main event.
Fourth grade was the first time I experienced the recorder as well. I could play Hot Cross Buns for Best of It. That was a song that I learned to play on the recorder, Jose. It's a very famous song. I'm sorry that you don't know it. Incredibly famous. If Jake knows music, you know it's very famous.
I'm pretty sure that's Hot Cross Buns. Now, obviously, I have no idea how to play the flute, but I'm fairly certain that is how it goes.
That's for sure Hot Cross Buns.
Thank you. See, I put myself out there for the show. I don't care. I embrace it. I'm going to give you a flute. I'll self-teach myself how to do this bad boy. Fourth grade Jake Aswick can learn how to do this.
The main event, weekday afternoons at 4 Eastern on SB Nation Radio. This is Straight Heat.
An amateur player in France has been suspended for 5 years. There was an altercation. He bit an opponent in the junk. That's right. He bit him on his little willy. That dude should be banned for life.
Straight Heat with Patrick Creighton. Weekdays from 1 a.m. to 6 a.m. Eastern on SB Nation Radio. SB Nation Radio. Scratching beneath the surface. It's the second level on SB Nation Radio.
And on SBNationRadio.com.
Presented by Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loans. From the O'Reilly Auto Parts Studio.
Mike's hot.
Todd Shander.
One thing I do love about Twitter is every now and again you get somebody who will randomly retweet something that you saw or retweeted maybe a week ago. And we're all talking about TV shows and going back and watching old shows, or maybe you're just caught up in some Seinfeld loop or All in the Family, Jefferson, something even older than Seinfeld loop. That's fine. But a lot of things that are retro don't necessarily make the cut. One thing that does is gaming, video games. A lot of people will break out. You can even buy an updated retro Nintendo with all the old games. So Philly Godfather tweeted this. This is March 31st, and somebody just retweeted this into my timeline, and I was reminded of the tweet that I retweeted a week ago. So Philly Godfather, we've had him on a bunch of times. He's our top sports picker, sports handicapper, one of the top guys in the country. Tweeted, my son handed me a Galaga game with his high score of 137,000 and asked me, what do you know about this? I handed the game back to him 20 minutes later. I own that bleep. And the high score is now nearly 200,000 at a $198, 720. And it just got me thinking, you know, I'm 42. I'll be 42 this year and in December, God willing, right? So I'm at a point now, I don't have any children. I don't have a child. We're looking at that this year. Also looking at getting married in July. And I don't know how realistic that is. As optimistic as I am, who the hell knows at this point? But clearly that marriage, child was going to go hand in hand this year. So I can only imagine, because I'll be at a point now, assuming that everything goes according to plan, we have a child in the next 8 or 9 years, right? Let's just say that, right? 8 or 9 years, I'll be 50 and the child will be 10. Now, I know that's a wide gap right there, a generation and a half maybe. But I'm talking trash right now at 42 years old if I'm playing a video game. It doesn't matter if it's somebody next to me or if we're doing it online, whatever. I can't imagine how bad I'll be to my son, because the combination of games, like I'm sure her daughter, right? My child, will leave genderless at the moment. My child will come into this world and I will help raise my child on video games to play and interact, and especially now because you can play with other people, other friends, maybe set it up that way. So I'm sure there's going to be some game for kids that my kid is going to love and I'm going to have to play and I'm going to get my ass kicked. And then, 8, 9, 10, whatever the age is that we deem okay, we'll pop in, and maybe I'll even bring back the GameCube. Maybe I'll even bring the GameCube back and rock GoldenEye and tag my kid a couple of times. Pow, pow, pow. And just stand up. Be like, what? You gotta train. All right. This is a tough world out there. This online gaming community. You get popped in the head 6 seconds into being dropped in the ground on Fortnite, you're gonna get ripped. That's gonna go viral. I'm trying to prevent that. So maybe it is something like this. Galaga. My God, I can't remember the last time. That game came out in 1981. So maybe it would have to be, for me, something a little later. It'd have to be like in the GameCube, Super Nintendo, Sega Genesis realm. But now, I'm going to have the PS5 this year, whenever it comes out. So I'll probably have a combination of both. And I won't have to go that far deep and run some game back in like Nintendo. Oh, yeah? High score in Donkey Kong? Let me think. Matt Mullen's going to join us in 6 minutes. We had Matt on a couple of times from the Philly Voice and beyond, writing about sports mainly, but now he's shifted into television. And there's a big show tonight. Westworld is one of the few shows that you're still waiting for. That's not like Ozark. That's not out there in past time where you can go back and rewatch it and blow through commercials or everything. Now it's on HBO, so there's none of that, but you still have to wait every week. And it's killing me because the show is just hit or miss. And when it hits this year, really the last 6 episodes, there's only been 2 this year. But when it hits, it's one of the best shows on television. When it misses, it's frustrating. And I don't know why I'm frustrated. I don't know if I'm frustrated because no show is perfect. We even talked about that last night extensively about Ozark with Dan Buffer. We get no show can be perfect. Westworld is far from it. Or if it's the fact that we are in binge heaven right now. It's the only thing that's positive about staying at home through this pandemic is that you can sit there and watch show after show, depending if you have any honeydews or, you should clean the house and probably shower every now and again. But I'm not here to judge nor tell you how to live your life. I just think at this point, it's beyond frustrating to wait a week knowing how slow a week's going to go during a quarantine, only to get a television. And look, this is the ultimate first world problem. I understand that, right? But we're not talking about serious stuff here, so it's not like I'm neglecting anything at the moment. But you have to understand, I'm sure you go through it as well. For me, it's Westworld. All right, I'll throw this out. I want you to think about this. If you're following along on Twitter, at Shander Show, live on Twitch, the streams as well, twitch.tv/Shander Show. If there is a show right now that you are still waiting for each week, if there's a show that you still have to wait 7 days to see, oh man, I just saw that show. Really? Because I'll tell you, tonight at 10 o'clock, I'm going to be disappointed. At some point tonight at 10 o'clock, I'm going to be disappointed. It's either going to be because of the show or it's going to be because I have to wait a full week just to get this thing back. Kevin, again on Twitch, Survivor. You know, Kev, stay there if you can, because I need help when it comes to these Survivor odds on the global market. You might actually be able to help us all win some money. Mullen joins us next.
If your credit card
Do you have his number?
No, I was just about to ask you for it.
If you're making the minimum.
Also, I kind of wish series would take a little longer to make, and then they could just drop the whole series at once instead of making you wait a whole week.
Yeah.
Get out of debt.
I'd rather have 8 episodes or 10 episodes drop at one time and binge them than wait every week.
Debts into one lower payment, reduce your interest rates, and get you out of debt fast. If you're struggling with credit card debt, call Consolidated Credit now.
Call now, 800-549-1277. That's 800-549-1277. 800-549-1277.
Consolidated Credit Counseling Services Incorporated, 5701 West Sunrise Boulevard, Fort Lauderdale, Florida, 33313. Not a loan company licensed by the New York Department of Financial Services or by the Vermont Department of Financial Regulation. Maryland DM 19, Oregon DM 80031. Licensed by Virginia State Corporation. Commission licensed on the DC 33. Establishment affect the individual's credit rating or credit score. Non-payment of debt may be creditors to increase financial charges or collections activity.
Wait, I'm sorry, you say you do?
Attention all timeshare.
No, I don't have it.
Oh, shit, I'm sorry.
To do with your timeshare contract? Do you own a timeshare and just want out? Thousands of timeshare owners are getting out of their timeshare contracts with the help of Timeshare Compliance. Timeshare Compliance can legally clear up, shred, eliminate, trash your timeshare agreement.
You got all that shit back there. That like late 90s, early 2000 hip hop, man.
Yeah, I do, man.
Yeah, that's all I need to hear, bro.
All right. See, Patrick refuses to let me play anything but rock and roll, so I got different stuff on different shows, man.
No, man.
Did you send me the number?
Doing it right now.
Okay.
Yeah, bro. Like, if you just played all fucking like old school hip hop and nothing else, I don't care if it's Tupac, Biggie, Back That Ass Up, like anything from the 90s, 2000s. I'm good, man. You can even go earlier. I don't even know how far back you go and shit. Outkast, like any, old Outkast, not like Way You Move type shit. But I mean, like, old shit. No, that's too. It has to be before that. Before that album where they quote broke up, and did the two different things. No. I mean, like the AT Aliens type shit. Wheels of Steel. Who's on after me?
Never pay $15 a pill for the name brand again. Get generic sildenafil.
Sorry, I was talking to Matt. Patrick.
Okay.
Yeah, Creighton's on after you.
So he goes 9 to 1.
$650. And
yes.
Gotcha.
Just $99. Generic sildenafil is fast, easy.
I think it's just gonna be you and him every Saturday and Sunday.
Your call.
Those are the two live shows.
250-55.
Yeah, I think that's it. Because all day they've been running
Byline, right?
Byline, yep.
What's on Byline? Like, what was the programming today?
It's another radio station, a sports station that has the same clock as us. We just run their stuff. It's just sports.
But what is it? Is it people talking? Who was it?
Yeah. Oh yeah. It's just like us. They got shows.
Do you know who the guys were?
Scratching, but
not really. No, I don't pay attention to them. They're not very good.
Got it.
And I just let it play.
What is it? Sports Byline?
Yeah, Sports Byline.
From the O'Reilly Auto Parts Studios,
Mike's on.
Shander.
Now we mentioned not only Westworld, but the overrated television show of the night. and trying to find the opposite of what Matt Mullen and Philly Voice have done. They're at now I want to make sure I have the specific area. The Sweet 16 will be dropping tomorrow. See, Matt and Evan Macy, really it's Evan, but Matt's on here. So I in case he's watching on the stream or just listening or something, because he knows you're on now, I don't want to credit just you for this bracket, this TV bracket, but you definitely get the credit for these great previews that you're writing each week for Westworld, which is a show that you and I maintain, although we may differ in the specifics, is one of the most fascinating, intelligent shows on TV. Matt Mullen, welcome, sir.
Thanks for having me, man. How are you?
You know, not bad, man. And I know you're doing well, so I'll ask you, though, just for the audience, because I ask everybody how they're doing and how everything's going. And since you and I talk nearly on a daily basis, I know everything's going well with you, but I don't want my audience to, oh, you didn't ask him, you animal, you cretin. So how the hell are you?
I'm doing, I'm hanging in there just like everyone else, staying home. I'm going out to go to the grocery store, but, I'm kind of a homebody to begin with. So being stuck in my apartment with my wife and streaming TV all the time while I'm not working is one of the worst things that I could be doing. So, I'm hanging in there well. How about you?
Well, exactly. You and I feel like have been preparing for self-quarantining for the last 3 or 4 years. We live next to each other, and I don't think either one of us left the compound much. I love it, man. All right, so I'm curious. Let's start with the Sweet 16, because you have, I want to hit this. We'll definitely go deep into Westworld as well, the preview that you have for tonight's episode that comes out at 9 o'clock on HBO. The 4 brackets, HBO Go, Prime Video, Netflix, and Hulu. The Sweet 16 is dropping tomorrow. The thing, it's all over the world thing. What's the biggest surprise? I know you don't want to give away too many spoilers, Matt, but what show in the Sweet 16 on the 4 brackets is the biggest surprise?
There were a lot of the seeding, we based it, because we want to take our own bias out of it, so we based it on the Rotten Tomatoes scores. So it was kind of just by the numbers, and that caused, some shows like Westworld that were going to make the HBO bracket. But there have been a few, if you look at the Sweet 16, a lot of the seeds that you would think would advance have advanced. I was kind of surprised to see, a show like Futurama lose to Community. I thought that was kind of a pretty big upset. And Lost actually lost, Open Planet. That was kind of an upset. But from the website, I think there was a little bit of hometown bias there.
Yeah. Yeah, it makes sense, but I also think, and I wonder, because I didn't watch the show, but every time I bring it up, people are still very angry at how Lost ended, and I wonder if that had an impact.
Well, I'll counterpoint that with Game of Thrones in their first 2 matchups. They really laid the competition. They beat Girls in the first round and Succession in the second round, which are 2 very popular shows.
What's the second show? Succession?
Something like 80 to 20, maybe.
What is that show? I'm sorry. I'm ignorant of that show.
Succession is something on HBO drama, hour long, about rich people acting badly. It's kind of like a slightly, I don't know what to call it, higher brow than Billions, but it's a little more, I don't know, it's different. It's a little more drama-y, where I think Billions gets a little funny, it's a little faster paced, but yeah, it's kind of like that.
Okay, now when did Girls go off the air, though?
It's been off there, I want to say 3
Oh, really? That recent? For some reason, I thought it's been off the air for 8 or 9 years.
No, I don't think it's been that long.
I have no reason or rationale now as far as how Game of Thrones could have advanced. I thought people would vote against Game of Thrones just out of spite. So
I thought that's exactly what was going to happen, and now it's going up against Sopranos in the Sweet 16, and coming into the tournament, I would have thought Sopranos would have blown it away. Now I'm not so sure.
There is a major problem. All right, not with the poll, not with Philly Voice's algorithm or mechanics or metrics, nothing, or Rotten Tomatoes. There is a major problem with whoever puts Game of Thrones, who presses the button and votes for Game of Thrones over The Sopranos. And look, I guess you could argue that both shows ended leaving you somewhat frustrated, but there is no comparison to what happened to Game of Thrones than any show the way it ended.
Yeah, well, the complaint with Sopranos is literally the last frame
Right.
of the entire series.
Right.
Whereas the complaints with Game of Thrones are the last, season and a half, 2 seasons.
Yes, and I wonder now when either one of those shows it will hurt them. Meaning, I can't see Sopranos losing, but then again, you start to look around. Now, what about The Office? Because that was a hot show. I know coming in on Netflix. Office is still alive, right?
Yes, that is in the 2016 of the Netflix season, going up against, interestingly enough, Parks and Rec.
Ooh. All right, now, personally, take the Rotten Tomatoes, all of that out of it. Matt Mullen, because we're going to get to your taste in television and talk about Westworld in a minute, but which one would you go with?
You're not going to like my answer to this because I know where you would go with this, but I give Parks and Rec the edge.
Isn't that just a ripoff of The Office, though?
No, not at all.
Why? Okay, why?
I mean, yeah, it's got similar people working on it behind the scenes, but I mean, there was just something about The Office that it was never my favorite.
Yeah.
Not just that I don't enjoy rewatching it and watching some of my favorite episodes and stuff like that, but I think Ron Swanson is one of the greatest TV characters ever. I think Michael Scott's a great character, but he was so cringeworthy and hard to watch at times. He was such a bad guy, kind of. But it kind of turned me off from that a little bit. But, it's almost a coin flip.
Sure. No, I get that. And there's something about the Andy Kaufman-esque humor. And Ricky Gervais, of course, that's Ricky Gervais's character, and also we have to credit Gervais on it. But even he, I feel like it was something that has yet to be duplicated, which is just that, you're right, cringeworthy. I mean, Andy Kaufman had people in the audience at live shows like, what is going on? And I felt like think about it, and Parks and Rec, I don't know how much they did this, and I imagine they probably did, since you mentioned there are similar people working on the show, but those two shows are probably the only ones that would keep an extra second or two of the shot on people's faces to really emphasize the awkwardness, right?
Yeah, with that kind of documentary book, that one shot thing, that they both had going for them. And you're right, they both definitely did. I mean, obviously, The Office has, you can look at YouTube montages of every time Jim Halpert says the camera. And they were kind of, I think, the pioneer of that, for sure.
Matt Mullen. Sorry, but go ahead.
None of them are going to win that region, unfortunately.
Is it Breaking Bad that owns that region?
Yeah.
So Breaking Bad is Netflix, right?
Yeah.
And I feel like when we look at this and it's all said and done, and of course Westworld doesn't make it, and I'm disappointed, but I get it. I feel like Breaking Bad will be crowned the best television show of all time.
For our purposes, I think it's either that or The Wire.
Yeah, well, you know where I stand, although I love Breaking Bad.
Yeah.
Wow. This is going to be awesome. Sweet 16 on Philly Voice drops tomorrow. Matt Mullen at Matt_Mullen joining us. 8 times Chandler. It's the second level. What are you most anticipating? Because the show is all over the place. We've had 3 episodes so far this season of Westworld. And we've yet to see Ed Harris, and some other things have kind of gone crazy. What are you most anticipating for tonight's episode?
I think you said it. I'm looking forward to Ed Harris, the Man in Black. I mean, you saw him in the previews for this week's episode, and so it seems pretty obvious that he's going to play a pretty big role in this episode. But also, like you said, it could go anywhere. Like, there's so much that's unknown right now that's part of what I look forward to each week is I don't know what I'm going to get that week.
Yes, and I feel like, to your point about Ed Harris not being in the first 3 episodes, this might be one of those full episodes where he dominates. And I wonder, because they did this last week with Charlotte, that character, and not to get into the depths of her character, but I'm just curious. It reminded me of what The Leftovers did. And The Leftovers did it really well, where every episode would focus on one character for the most part, and you might have to wait 2 episodes, 3 episodes if you count the one that you're watching before you get back to a storyline. So I wonder do you enjoy that, knowing that we can't binge this show and you might have to wait another 2 weeks just to see Aaron Paul?
Yeah, I heard you talking about that right before I came on, actually, about how you wish more shows would drop in binging formats all at once.
Like Ozark.
Specifically, I don't mind having that week in between. Because even before I was writing about it, it's one of those shows that it kind of takes some time to digest. And I enjoy listening to podcasts or reading about, different theories or different, even like more of what like literary allusions the show is making and stuff like that. So for this specifically, I don't mind that. But I do get you could go 3 weeks between seeing the character, and that stuff.
But that's, I feel like, is more new or newer, I guess, right, to this show. I don't feel like they did that this much in the previous 2 seasons.
No, you know what? They really didn't, but I think that was because they were focusing on a smaller set of characters as being their main characters, and now they pretty much have Dolores, Bernard, and Charlotte, and Aaron Paul, and they're kind of just rotating between the 4 of them. They don't have as many people that they need to satisfy.
Don't forget Maeve.
So you don't get as many episodes where they just jump from one character storyline to another, to another, to another.
Right.
And they don't do linear storytelling.
Well, that's the beauty, I think, of it, where initially it might be confusing, and look, Maeve too, right? Maeve, Bernard, all the characters you mentioned, you could run each episode can be one episode of one character, and you just keep going until we've hit every character and then kind of go back. There are about 4 or 5 characters that have a lot of depth. And look, even I was skeptical about Aaron Paul, but I'm enjoying his character, and I wonder if it's because they're not relying on him to carry the show.
Yeah, but I think he's also kind of become the everyman point of view character. So, we're kind of experiencing this world the way he is, being introduced to these robots and such. Sure, we're on the inside and we know that Dolores is a robot, which he probably doesn't yet. But, he's more of an everyman character. He's not the super rich guy. He's not the head of a corporation. He's just an everyday working guy. I think that was something that they were lacking in the show before. We kind of had Felix and Sylvester for that a little bit, but I think moving someone like that to the forefront kind of makes it a little more accessible for everyone.
Yes, and I wonder now, when you look at this show, specifically with Ed Harris, who is going to be, I imagine, anytime he's on screen, he's going to dominate and is going to be compelling. Do you think that he is now a robot? Like, he has to be. He can't be a human this deep into the future, right?
Well, no, I think because this current storyline takes place 90 days after they left the park. So yeah, and at the end of the season 2, if you remember, he was laying on the beach, about to be picked up. He was in a medical tent, and then there was that post-credit scene that kind of threw everyone off a little bit. He walks into a room and says, "Oh no, I'm inside the thing already, aren't I?" And people thought he was talking about the Forge, but I had a thought earlier today that I didn't put in my story. So, what if when he did that and he said, "I'm inside the thing already," he's actually talking about being inside Rehoboam, and he's inside the simulation, not inside the Forge. We just didn't know what Rehoboam was at that point and didn't have that knowledge or understanding. But now, looking back, maybe he got out of the park and then got put inside simulation.
Man, you just blew everybody's mind who has been paying attention to this show and thinking, all right, I have some grasp on what's going on. You just blew everybody's mind. All right, so at Philly Voice, you can read Matt Mullen's piece ahead of tonight at Matt_Mullen, phillyvoice.com. The Westworld preview is out. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
You got it, man. It's crazy just to see the depths that this show is taking, and it's not losing you. Meaning, if you've just been paying attention, if you've just been following along, and they have a lot of good recaps at the end of the episodes, they're not losing you. We'll wrap the hour next here on the second level. Oh, man, I didn't get to that app thing.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Oh, we didn't tweet it.
Absolutely. There's no doubt about it.
Which one?
This story about people cheating now.
Holding on. This is a peaceful relationship.
People cheating?
Yeah, because of the virus. It's
Anybody
crazy.
we talk to about
Oh, wow.
any sort of absolution means you're lying. Yes, ladies, I'm just here to tell you, anyone that speaks fast is lying to you. Red flag, sis. If he goes a mile a minute, he's lying. He doesn't even stop to think about what he's saying. He's just spewing it out.
Like those were like true. That was like his feelings coming out in his life.
He's like, oh, my son has already asked me about it. Don't put the kids in there. Don't do that. Don't put it on the kids. Like, just sit here and say he's not healthy enough for me. I want a whole new scheme. Where's the Band-Aid?
Yes.
Let him go. Let him absolutely go.
Above it all with Candace Cooper and Tiffany Marshall. Weekday mornings at 10 Eastern on SB Nation Radio.
Wake up calls!
Please, God, if it does come to that, can we have the Walking Dead zombies not be World War Z?
Yeah, I don't need the fast-moving.
Superhuman. No, I'm not running a World War Z zombie.
I'm the guy you bring because secretly you know I can't keep up with the rest of the group. Hey, I'm going to take Bob and Jim and Tony. You come with us, too. And everybody knows why you're bringing me. So when push comes to shove, I'm the meal.
Wake up call with Tony D and Ron Culver. Weekday mornings. Pushing the odds with Matt Peralt.
Joe Theismann here on Pushing the Odds. How has quarantine life been for you?
Probably the most important word that we can all consider is patience with everybody. I know everybody's sort of going stir crazy. I mean, let's face it, this is something we're not used to as a society. We move quite rapidly, but now we're forced to sort of reevaluate the important things in life, and I think it's good in that regard. No, I've said this for a long time. If you have your health, you have wealth. Wealth has nothing to do with what your bank account looks like. If you have your health,
We might do no recap here.
Whatever you need, brother.
All right.
You want to be able to keep social distancing so that everybody can stay healthy. And the more we can practice that, every day that we can practice that,
I don't know anybody on this network.
Scientists to be able to come up with a cure.
Oh, on the byline?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's I think it's he said it was a radio station in Waco, Texas, I believe. I don't know.
Tom Phillips, Earl Campbell, Dan Pastorini.
Yeah, but like
Blue Era Houston Oilers. Experience 1970s.
The morning after?
White and Columbia Blue. The new audiobook at Houston79.com.
Is it
a game by
a network though, or is it just local?
Yeah, it's a network.
Views and new insights. Step into the huddle for legendary games against the Steelers and Cowboys and relive one of the most controversial plays ever, the Mike Renfro play. Red, white, and Columbia Blue. Download now at Houston79.com.
All right,
Oh, they're on PHT here in Philadelphia.
Mike's hot.
All right, I want to bring up, and we're not going to have time now, but when we swing back around in 6 minutes, the difference between Parks and Rec and The Office, and I don't know how much of this is even existing in Parks and Rec. I imagine it is. I didn't watch the show. I'm not anti. I never caught it. And trust me, this is not going to be Jordan and LeBron. Well, which one is better? But both shows, I feel like, did something that has yet to be duplicated, that has not been duplicated before, and going back to Andy Kaufman. And it's something that makes television, at least comedies, incredible, yet it's so rare. We'll hit that and this app next. All right, brother, I'll be right back.
All right.
The main event. Here's Jake, Cody, and
You put it again. Wrong mic, dude. Come on. You lost the privilege to introduce the show today. You're in the main event. Yeah, the gang. Get on here. Yeah, ready to go and ready to roll on a Friday.
The main event. Weekday afternoons at 4 Eastern on SB Nation Radio.
Wake up calls! You know what? I
think Tiger King is probably going to be the thing.
That'll be
How did you get through the Great Quarantine? Let me tell you the story of a guy and his tigers, and another guy and his sex cult, and a woman that fed her husband to the lions. I mean, it's just going to be.
Do you think Oklahoma, in some way, some fashion, or maybe the country as a whole, we should have a Joe Exotic statue? A place, a beacon of hope, a beacon of light that we can all travel to once the quarantine is over. So we can
families,
mass gatherings. So generations from now, we can sit there and say, guys, this man right here is what got us through 2020.
I think it's a great idea. That's a good idea. Joe Exotic statue. The great hero of the 2020 quarantine.
Wake up call with Tony D and Ron Culver. Weekday mornings. Introducing AutomotiveMap.com, a brand new website for anyone interested in what's happening in the world of automobiles. From reviews on the latest vehicles to vintage rides to tips on keeping your family safe on the road, AutomotiveMap.com has something for you. If you love cars, trucks, and SUVs and the amazing technology hitting your favorite showroom, check out the brand new AutomotiveMap.com. The main event.
Why would J.J. Watt play for this team? He should. J.J. Watt's best chance to win a Super Bowl is not in Houston playing for Bill O'Brien. It's not. He should ask for a trophy. J.J. Watt should go in. No, you can't go in. This place is closed. J.J. Watt should FaceTime Bill O'Brien. He should show up at Bill O'Brien's house. You can show up. Yeah, you can still show up at the house and you can still social distance. Yeah. From the driveway, just yell like, "I'm out. I want to be traded!" I honestly, we joke about Watt. It's not out of the question they do that. J.J. Watt can't stay on the field, which is why it's egregious they traded DeAndre Hopkins, because he's the most consistent, reliable superstar they have on the team. He doesn't miss games. DeAndre Hopkins would still be a top 10 wide receiver in football. I'm convinced if he had one arm. That's how reliable this dude is. I agree. You could cut off some of his fingers and he'd still be better than most wide receivers. I think he'd still be able to have decent production with one leg.
The main event, weekday afternoons at 4 Eastern on SB Nation Radio.
Wake up call! Tom Brady's going to be living in Jeter's house.
First off, what did he do to replace the dishwasher? Is that Jeter's problem or is that Brady's problem? Did Brady sit there and like, hey, Jeter, you need to take care of this. I'm not going to pay you rent.
So when Brady goes in to Jeter's house and Jeter goes, yeah, the cell phone goes in the basket. He goes, oh, no. I already went down this road before with the NFL. No chance. This phone's not going anywhere near that basket.
Wake up call with Tony D and Ron Culver. Weekday mornings.
Wake up call! Tom Brady's going to be living in Jeter's house.
First off, what did he do to replace the dishwasher? Is that Jeter's problem or is that Brady's problem? Did Brady sit there and like, hey, Jeter, you need to take care of this. I'm not going to pay you rent.
So when Brady goes in to Jeter's house and Jeter goes, yeah, the cell phone goes in the basket. He goes, oh, no. I already went down this road before with the NFL. No chance. This phone's not going anywhere near that basket.
Wake up call with Tony D and Ron Culver. Weekday mornings.
Let's see.
This is Straight Heat.
Got into it with Brian Manzullo from the Detroit Free Press on Twitter today, who tried telling me that they did not report that the Tiger.
All right, and then we got Eric Pincus. What else you got for the third hour?
Let's do
the old tweet from Anthony Fenech, who's their reporter.
Let's do Corona and Tinder.
That way because
the first story we can do is something I wanted to do last hour. It's sports related.
Since August of 2015. He said, have you watched the Tigers lately? Just because the team sucks doesn't mean they didn't cheat. Next time, have a damn
Corona and Tinder and
Brian Manzullo, clown of the day.
The sports hypothetical you need.
Weekdays from 1 a.m. to 6 a.m. Eastern on SB Nation Radio. SB Nation Radio.
All right, gotcha.
So not everybody might. Oh, that was my 5-year-old. That was interesting. She and I have had a long time at home.
You're on Snapchat?
No, you're not going on Snapchat.
Where did you kid?
You're 5 years old. You're not going on Snapchat. You don't always go on Snapchat. Here you go. No, you don't. Your mother tends to let you go on Snapchat. I don't let you go on Snapchat. You're 5.
Pushing the odds with Matt Peralt. Weekday afternoons from 1 to 5 Eastern.
You're going on a trip, but where are you going to stay? How much will it cost? Well, it'll cost less by booking on besthotelrates.com. Besthotelrates.com works with all the top hotels in the country while delivering you great hotel and room choices for the best prices. Why wait? Go to besthotelrates.com, enter your email address, and start shopping for your next hotel room. Besthotelrates.com. It's in the name. Besthotelrates.com.
Set your system's volume control for slightly above the normal listening level.
That's second level thinking is defined as looking beyond the easy, obvious conclusions.
You got to do some smart thinking.
Welcome to the second level. To the second level on SB Nation Radio.
And on SBNationRadio.com.
Where we go beyond the box score. Presented by Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loans. Rocket Mortgage is with you every step of the way. From the O'Reilly Auto Parts Studios.
Mike's hot.
On Shander.
Decent day out up here today, mid-50s or so in Philadelphia. So decided to set up the nets, the golfing nets. There was a pick up there. You can follow it on Twitter at Shander Show. We're live, twitch.tv/Shander Show. Eric Pincus is going to join us this hour, 35 minutes from now, as we look at this time off from an NBA point of view, specifically what may happen with any type of tournament going on. But here I am, I'm setting this up, and my fiance had just left. Like she's a really good golfer. She's much better than I am, and she's looking at this like it's just a recipe for a disaster. The net is wide enough to where if I get close to it, you would really have to hit a terrible shot. Like you would really have to hit it off, I don't even know, because it wouldn't really even be the side or even the front part, right, of the head of the club to where the ball would go directly right if you're, right-hander like I am, completely sliced. It's very difficult to have the ball go lateral. It's going to move somewhat to the front, and if it does, there's a net that catches it. So I work my way up, and even the neighbors come out and they start to watch and they're thinking, oh my, because I can see them from how close I'm social distancing, of course, but I can see a couple of my neighbors, they have a flagpole property. So everybody lives on the street, except they live off the street and they have this deep driveway, hence the flagpole, right? And the house is in the back. So they have a golf cart. When it gets cold and wet and snowy and nasty, they can come down, get the mail, packages, what have you. And they're driving up and down the golf cart, teaching their kid who's been home now for a month how to drive this golf cart. And they thought it was a shotgun going off because I worked my way up to the driver. And it's just like, pow. I mean, it's loud, right? Really loud. But there's a kid two houses down from me that plays drums outside. Now, nobody said anything about the kid playing drums outside. They sure as hell shouldn't say anything about me playing golf outside.
Do you have a retirement account?
Damn right.
Right? The hell?
Pay close attention to what I'm about to tell you.
Kid has a drum set in the garage with the door open.
Gold is a better way to protect your retirement.
Hey, man. I know how annoying that is. I used to get complaints all the time because my mom would force me to practice my French horn outside when I was in high school because she hated to hear it.
Well, all right. Hold on. We got to get to that.
We've created the world's first gold protection retirement platform ever built. If you have an IRA or 401k, you can get your free access.
Who runs that byline, do you know?
But to agree.
I have no idea.
All you need to do is call our recorded line for your special quote. You can join the site for free. Just call now to get your code. 800-908-2174. 800-908-2174. 800-908-2174. That's 800-908-2174.
Texting enrolls you in recurring automated text messages. Message data rates may apply.
Hi, I'm Frank Thomas, the Big Hurt. After I left baseball, I just couldn't stay in shape like I used to. Turns out, once you hit 40, your body has less free testosterone.
When do we run the byline, you know?
So I got.
It's going to be on Saturday and Sunday from 10 a.m. to I believe 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. Central. And then we do the overnights. The overnights now from midnight until 5 a.m. is Byline. And then I think there's like 2 hours every day in the middle of the day somewhere where it runs to.
To help a man feel stronger.
But I mean, they took literally 8 hours or 7 hours every Saturday and Sunday.
To get you a complimentary
Yeah. So that should tell you something.
MAIN to 321.
Well, yeah, I mean,
Not a Trinity Good spokesperson. Could your house go into foreclosure? Are you behind
What's
on your
crazy,
mortgage
though, is that
payments?
they're
Does it seem
running-
like the bank has no interest in helping you save your home, and you feel like you have nowhere to turn for help? Then we have good news for you. Foreclosure Protection Services can help save your home as they specialize in
They run
foreclosure
podcasts
assistance.
too?
That's all they do. If you're behind on your mortgage payments, being threatened with foreclosure, have been denied a loan modification, or been the victim of a predatory loan, it's critical that you call Foreclosure Protection Services now at 800-946-1013. Their network of attorneys and their agents are available to speak to you now. If you're behind on your mortgage payments, Foreclosure Protection Services
iHeart.
can help stop the foreclosure process. Call today before
it is.
Well, at least iHeart is hosting
your
their
home. Call for
podcast.
At 800
Maybe iHeart is just, I don't know. Maybe iHeart is just
61013. That's 800-946.
I co-host Sports Overnight America. Do you even know who hosts that?
I know his name because I've heard it a billion times. I'll see.
Scratching beneath the surface. It's the second level on SB Nation Radio.
And on SBNationRadio.com.
Presented by Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loans. From the O'Reilly Auto Parts Studios.
Mike's out.
So this net is pretty big, man. I'm telling you, this net is as wide as my wingspan, and it's probably a little wider than that. So if you're watching on Twitch, I'm trying to keep it with the monitor because everything's reversed, right? So I don't know. I'm 6 feet when I'm standing up tall, 5'11" and 3/4, or maybe even 7/8, and the wings, like, it's pretty wide. So if you're up close to where my body is and my whole wingspan is representing a full net, then you can cover a lot of ground right and left. And look, I'm not a great golfer, but I'm also not terrible in the sense of every single shot. And we're also talking about off the tee where I can control it a little bit better. It's not like I'm hitting 5 woods or, some sort of hybrid, some rescue club, or even an iron, which is going to be really difficult. But even still, it's wide enough that despite the concerns in household, not me, but the other person who lives in this house, has that it's going to go errant and fly. I had it set so there are a couple of trees behind the net in the event that anything would happen. Worst case scenario. There's enough distance so that the ball wouldn't fly through my net, this whatever contraption it is. And look, it's pretty good. I wore it out day one. Okay, so far, and I can't wait to crack at it tomorrow. But the problem, of course, is that it makes this loud noise. I mean, it is a bang, especially if you hit the target right in the middle of it. And if you can just continue to pound that center, that bullseye of the target, it's going to have this humongous loud bang to it. So normally you think, well, what's the big deal? Look, I do live in somewhat of a quiet neighborhood, and I'm not trying to draw any more attention to this house than I already am. And I'll send you, honestly, a couple of stories about the fire department coming and me setting the house nearly on fire, and a couple of other different things that happened when I first moved in here. I'm trying to limit the exposure I have with neighbors, fire department, everybody else. But this thing is really loud. So I kind of felt guilty at one point because neighbors were coming out looking like, what the hell's going on? Like somebody's shooting something in the back. And the better you hit the ball, the better you actually make contact with your club and square up and slam that ball right into the middle of the bullseye, the louder it sounds. And it does sound like a shotgun. But I mentioned before we broke that there's a kid who lives a couple of houses down from me. And God bless him because he's pushing his passion and he's actually pretty good. But you could tell somebody playing the drum or any instrument is not good and they're just suffering through it. But he's got a drum set. It sounds like they've moved him to the garage, and the garage doors open a lot, hence outdoor drumming. So I mentioned this, and John, you said you used to play the tuba and you were forced outside?
No, the French horn.
French horn, I apologize.
I mean, pretty much the same thing. I wasn't very good at it, yeah. And when I would want to practice, my mom would say, no, go outside or you can't practice. So I'd be either in the backyard or in the front yard playing my French horn for the neighborhood, and we got all kinds of complaints because I wasn't good.
All right, so why do you think the neighbors were complaining? Because you were playing it or because you weren't good?
Because I wasn't good. I'm sure if I was good, maybe they wouldn't mind. Well, maybe they would. I don't know. But it was loud. I shouldn't have been playing it outside. Let's say that.
Okay, but still, you were kind of forced outside, right? Like this kid. Yeah, see, that's the same scenario that I'm dealing with a couple of houses down from me, where you were this kid has essentially been forced into the garage. It used to be where it was a more muffled sound. So there's a clear distinction of being able to drum in your room, your basement, wherever it is in the house, and it's muffling it to the outdoor world versus being in a garage where the garage door's open and you could hear it next door 2, 4, 5 houses down. So you're, on the other hand, you were thrown out.
Yeah, and a French horn is not a quiet instrument either. It's pretty loud, and it echoed through the neighborhood.
What's the difference between a French horn versus a tuba?
Tuba's a lot bigger, a lot deeper sound, more of the bass. French horn almost is like a trumpet. If you look at the marching French horns, it's almost like a trumpet.
Yes,
it's a little bit higher,
and it's got that circle,
pitch, yeah.
Right?
Yes, yeah, it's got the bell that you put your hand in.
Why French horn?
Man, well, be honest with you. When I was in 6th grade, when I first signed up for band, I didn't know what the instruments were called.
Nice.
And I thought it was a trumpet. I thought I was signing up for trumpet. And I accidentally signed up for French horn, ended up liking it and just sticking with it.
All right. Is there a song? This is what we can kind of look at now. Is there a song, preferably in the genre that I can speak to best, which would be anywhere from 1980 to 2006 hip hop? But is there a song that comes to mind that is famous for the French horn in it?
No, I'm sure there's not.
No?
I'm sure.
So you were stuck playing an instrument that wasn't even a famous one.
No. Right. Well, that's why I thought I was getting a trumpet. I really did.
Yeah, the trumpet. I mean, think about it. You do everything. You blow that horn. I mean, there are a lot of people, right? Even the trombone. All right, so what would you rather have gone with? The trumpet is out. Would you rather have gone with the French horn, keep the French horn, the trombone, which is long and obtuse and difficult, and just you're constantly going to be knocking into people. The tuba, which I imagine is heavy, and again, you're talking about size, or the flugelhorn.
I don't even know what the flugelhorn is.
It looks like a flattened version of. It basically looks like a combination of the trumpet and the French horn, where you have a little bit more. Whatever's underneath the trumpet, it's a little bit more under the flugelhorn.
I think I would choose the tuba so I could follow people around.
And just
boom. Yep.
Don't you have to carry don't you need a strap for the tuba?
Strap. Oh yeah, it's not something you can just pick up and do. You have to get used to walking around with it.
See, here I am struggling right now, trying to hit a golf ball into this netting, and you were powering through the French horn. That's wild, man, that you never moved over to like the electric guitar or something after that.
I'd love to, but I discovered instruments, or at least brass instruments or band instruments, wasn't really my thing.
Yeah, why? So you joined band in the first place to play what? Like
the trumpet.
The trumpet.
That was my original thought. Yeah.
Okay.
But I didn't enjoy it too much.
No, well, you didn't enjoy the French horn, and I don't blame you.
Well, I didn't enjoy band too much either.
How long did you last in band?
I made it to 9th grade year. So I was actually good. 9th grade year, I was in symphonic, which is the highest band, but we weren't very good as a whole. But I made it 2 years into my 9th grade year, and then I quit.
Okay.
Yeah, and the band director was kind of a jerk.
Well, that could do it. See, I went through 2 majors at Gettysburg College because I didn't like the professors. And it was enough for me to just be like, all right, enough is political science and history. Maybe it was history then political science. I don't know. But yeah, man, I'm with you. Like that's such a difference maker, isn't it? Where
the professor?
Yes.
Without a doubt.
Yes. And it goes back to 6th grade band all the way to your senior philosophy class or whatever the hell people majored in. And yes, for me, it was always like that. And I always had, and I say always because it was an extreme. And this is why I probably didn't do great in school, is it was hit or miss. I mean, it was truly hit or miss. And I was young too, like everybody's young going to school and even in college, first couple of years, you don't know what the hell you're doing anyway. But think about this. Think about how much of a turnoff that is for any kid where you come in and for whatever reason, the teacher doesn't click with you, you don't click with the teacher, and it's just a complete removal. And I bring this up because my fiance's a teacher, she teaches 8th grade, and now everything's done virtually, right? So she was telling me how there are a couple of kids who will say, I can't do this. I can't do this without you next to me, without you helping me, without you helping me walk through it. And it's not like you need anybody to do it. It's not like anybody can sit there and, parents or your buddy or whatever. It's the connection that you have with the teacher. And I feel like an instrument, to be honest, and this is kind of how this whole thing came up with the instruments, but I feel like like playing an instrument and getting better at an instrument would be even more reliant upon you having a teacher that you can connect with than even a subject or something that you're learning, like even a language that you would be learning in school, right? I mean, it would be piano, it would be trumpet, it would be guitar. I mean, think about that. If you don't have a teacher you can connect with, you don't even have the will or anything behind you to practice this on your own.
I don't think people realize having a teacher that's not necessarily, I wouldn't say necessarily that you click with or not, but somebody that you don't feel like cares for you, it's a huge discouraging moment for a kid. Like, at least it was for me.
Yeah, I could see that. I could definitely see that being the major indicator. Now, I tried to at least. I went through that phase, electric guitar, had somebody come over. Guitar teacher was pretty cool. This is years ago, man. I mean, this has to be 8th grade, maybe 7th grade, something like that. So you're talking 13, 14 years old, maybe 12, 13, something like that. So 30 years ago, picked the thing up because we all wanted to be badass and play that axe and do all the great things you can with the electric guitar. And I remember just not picking it up well and not being able to play it easily, and even working on things took forever. And it was something that I just figured I was going to be good at. And come on, man, I could connect a bat with a ball, right? I could knock down a jump shot. Sports came somewhat easy. I knew I was going to go play pro at any point, but look, sports to a lot of us listening, interacting came easy as kids. That's why we're such diehards when it comes to our specific teams or the sports they play. But with this, I'm thinking, okay, well, why not? I can do it. And I had a really good teacher, but I just stunk. And I couldn't. And the thing is, and my mom kind of figured it out, is that it was basically just like the teacher would come over, play some stuff for me, show me some stuff, and then tell me some crazy stories about, like when he was in a band. And, here I am as a teenager just starting out, and I'm hearing stories about, well, this is what you can do. You go out there. So for me, it was more entertainment than anything else. And my mom was like, I don't even hear you practicing this thing anymore. Why the hell do you need lessons?
She didn't want to pay for that.
No. She's like, look, I'll pay for lessons if you're actually practicing, but you're not even practicing. What the hell's going on? That thing didn't last long.
But as soon as you pick it up and actually start practicing, she's going to tell you to be quiet.
Well, yeah, probably. You're right. Probably. Now, my dad, he plays the guitar really well. He's got a bunch of different instruments that he can play. And I should have just played it at his house and known that I wouldn't have been kicked out, at least outside. That's cold-blooded, man. Your mom said, hey, you can play an instrument, but maybe she was preparing you, right? Maybe she was just preparing you for reality, which is, you know what, John, this is not going to be your future here, this French horn. And only until we realize it. That was the reality for me, man, where my mom was like, you know what? At some point, we're going to have to sell this thing. At Shander Show is how you get me on Twitter, twitch.tv/Shander Shows. We're live, the stream as well. Eric Pincus is going to join us 15 minutes from now. We played the Brian Windhorst cut last night. I do want to play it again because it's going to lead into our conversation with Eric about the NBA and really what's at stake right now. Not just the schedule and not just when things start and where it can be played, but the amount of money. I mean, that's something that, yes, is being discussed, but not in the forefront, not nearly enough in the forefront when we're talking about the likelihood of a season being shut down. That in its own right is worth the discussion. Also, this story with Adam Schefter starting a major beef, no pun intended, in Kansas City. At Shander Show, it's the second level.
SB Nation tonight with John Mike.
Sorry I didn't respond at the end. We got a caller that, I guess he didn't want to come on, but
no, it's cool.
Athletes.
Who was it?
That can shoot.
He was some random dude. He called. He goes, "Who is this?" John. I'm the producer of the show, and he goes, "Where's Byline?" I said, "Well, it's off right now. It'll be back probably for the overnight." And he goes, "Well, do you love Byline?" And I said, "It's okay." And he goes, "All right, bye."
Agency.
Wow. Weird.
Yeah, it's very weird.
What was the area code for that call? Do you see?
No, I didn't see it.
Do you get to see it?
No, I don't even think they pop up on the screen on there.
Again,
I usually just ask people where they're from.
Go against Kevin Durant. I'm putting the Slim Reaper on his rear end. Tell him, shut the hell.
I got one the other day. The guy called and he said, "Who is this?" Just kind of like that. And I said, "John, the producer." And he goes, "Well, you're doing a great job." And then just hangs up.
Was that during Byline play?
No, it was while I was doing one of the shows.
Cowboys coverage on the web. And did you know that we have a podcast feed? The Blog of the Boys podcast feed has daily, that's right, daily episodes breaking down the latest and greatest in the world of America's team. We have multiple shows, multiple analysts, including a Super Bowl winner, two-time Super Bowl champion Tony Casillas is part of our rotation that we want to make sure you are as well. We're available on Apple, Spotify, and wherever else you get your podcast. So don't miss out. Subscribe to the Blog of the Boys podcast feed today.
Wake up, call.
Eric Musselman joining us, head coach Arkansas basketball. Some have talked about the winter sports, basketball, hockey, because some of the seniors saw their season end early in a conference tournament. Do you think that creates more problems, or is it something the NCAA can do?
Well, Tony, this is only my opinion, and my opinion only. You can't give the seniors another year because I just mentioned two particular conferences off the top of my head that were done playing. So how do they pay me to make decisions? Giving somebody a whole other year when you have a group of players that their eligibility is truly exhausted. And then there's a whole other financial aspect of it as well. The fact is going to put a strain on. There's others that it's not going to, but it is on others. So, I have really opinions about that for sure.
Wake up call with Tony D and Ron Culver. Weekday mornings. Introducing AutomotiveMap.com, a brand new website for anyone interested in what's happening in the world of automobiles. From reviews on the latest vehicles to vintage rides to tips on keeping your family safe on the road, AutomotiveMap.com has something for you.
That Brian Windhorst is 2 minutes long, right?
Yeah.
Amazing technology.
It's the one we played last night.
Check out the brand new.
Okay, just making sure.
Yeah. Thank you.
Scratching beneath the surface. It's the second level on SB Nation Radio.
And on SBNationRadio.com.
Presented by Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loans. From the O'Reilly Auto Parts Studio.
Mike's up.
Shander.
All right, so this will tell me where you are as far as what song this is.
Ooh,
this can be three songs. This beat is from three different songs. Initially from one way back when, 1982. Then repurposed by somebody else who had a group do the hook, then was repurposed by a guy who owes a lot of artists a lot of money.
Whoever put it in here labeled it as Grandmaster Flash.
Wow. Is there a way we could credit whoever put it in there? Like, is there sometimes where at radio stations I worked at, there would be initials of whoever put it in, like RC, right? Ron Culver. Do you see that?
I think I can. Let me see.
Because
you know what? It's an old producer that doesn't work here anymore.
Okay. All right. Well, that's fine then. You can tell me off the air. But my goodness, whoever put this in, I'm shocked that somebody attributed this to the Grandmaster Flash song, The Message. It's Grandmaster Flash and the Furious Five had this song called The Message. And this is, broken glass everywhere, right? That's where it comes from. And then, hopefully I have my chronology right, but I believe it was Cube who came out with the Check Yourself song. And this is, of course, Check Yourself remix with Das EFX.
I think that's what I've heard.
You're gonna check yourself, right? So that's Das EFX. And then you had Puffy and Mace come out with that song. Oh man, they had that song, which is this. I forget even the name of it, but they had their version because Puff had to remix everything, and it was he and Mace. So they had that video where they were all like up in the camera and doing different crazy things, and they had like those big suits that they were wearing, those like Missy Elliott suits that they were wearing. So that's why I was curious. Now think about it. All three different genres, right, of hip hop. You had Puffy and Mace, the most recent version of this, all flashy and just out there. Then you had Cube, which is pretty hardcore. And then you had Old School, which is Grandmaster Flash. And that takes you back to early 80s. I mean, that's like old school for me. And I go back like mid 80s. Man, I'm always curious when I hear that song because
you sound like you know a lot about your music, man.
You know what it is? It's not a lot. It's not even knowing. I feel like I paid attention to a lot of it. Would be like somebody who collected a lot of baseball cards as a kid, right? You would just know through osmosis, through experience. So I tried to listen to a lot. And remember, there was a time, look, you have to go way back, but there was a time, even before I got into it, right around that era, where shows, where stuff even in a park was illegal. Like you couldn't have a concert in the park. You couldn't have like a free show in the park. They would break it up. Police would break, you need a permit, stuff like that. The politics of it would get broken up. Essentially, hip hop was illegal at one point to do it live in a park and something like that, just to set things up and have the electronics and all. And then, look where it is now to where it's everywhere. But there was a time, for me at least, I'd say late 80s, really like the entire 90s into the first year or so of 2000, where everything came out on mixtapes and everything, it was underground. Hip hop wasn't like what it is now. Rap music wasn't like what it is now. Now, there was stuff that was out there and you could get the typical mainstream stuff, but there weren't a ton of artists that were mainstream. And you kind of knew, like, all right, the J's coming out, Biggie would come out, whatever, and that would be everything else. But even those guys, like, I remember I heard half of Biggie's first album. That first album came out right around Craig Mack's first album coming out. And I remember hearing basically both of their albums in, I'd say, like 65% capacity because a DJ, I think it was DJ SNS was the guy, New York DJ, it's where I lived in that area, came out with a mixtape. And his mixtape had half of it was like 3/4 of Biggie's album, and the other half of it was like 3/4 of Craig Mack's album. And that's what you got, John. You got a lot of stuff. If you knew where to find it, if you search like the underground, the mixtapes and stuff, you were hearing things before they came out. Now it's all like, it's just so mainstream that you don't need to put stuff out ahead of time. You can put something out whenever you want.
Yeah, and it'll be immediately accessible.
Absolutely.
Right now. And that's kind of the advantage. But with the mixtape era, I mean, I wasn't necessarily, I can't say I wasn't around for the mixtape era, but it was the beginning of my life. And from what I understand is you got a lot more music out of that too. Like artists would put sometimes 2 and 3 mixtapes out a year compared to one album every year or two.
Well, right, and think about it. You're at the point where we're talking now about the mixtapes being like 50. Remember, before 50 got signed, he had a mixtape, right?
Yeah.
I'm talking about even before that. You had this transition. Clue was probably, and Flex, or Funkmaster Flex and DJ Clue, were probably the two big names that turned DJ mixtapes into an actual album where you could buy the album and it was this whole thing. But even before the artists, when the artists started realizing, wait a second, I could put my old mixtape out with just me, they would throw stuff to DJ Clue, to SNS, to Ron G, to all these different DJs, because they knew that if you could get on a Ron G mixtape, then you would be heard by, it would be the equivalent of going gold today. You would be heard by everybody because everybody's going to get that Ron G mixtape.
Now, they only made one season of this, but there's a show you need to check out called The Get Down.
Ooh.
Have you ever seen it?
No.
Go watch The Get Down. You will love it.
The Get Down. Okay.
The Get Down. I believe it's on Netflix. They only made one season.
I'm writing it down now as we speak. The Get Down.
It kind of revolves around the DJ.
I love it. You're speaking to my heart, man. At Chandra Shows how you get me on Twitter. Eric Pincus is going to join us coming up next. The man knows everything and really everything about the NBA. When will it start? Well, nobody knows that, so that's unfair. But Eric will join us next.
Attention, this is a public notice.
Hey, once I get Eric on,
yes, sir.
I got to run to the other studio. Patrick sent me the rundown. He's got 3 or 4 things that I actually have to record in the other studio.
Man.
Shouldn't take very long.
That's fine.
If you suffer from physical or mental disability, whether you're...
Yeah, The Get Down. I think it was based in like the 70s and 80s in New York, in Brooklyn.
Okay.
And it's about the DJ and how it evolved and everything. It's really, really good.
Nice. I appreciate that.
Benefits. Remember,
Yeah, check
we
that out.
only get paid if you win your case. There are many reasons and conditions that may make you eligible for disability benefits. Many of them you may not be aware of. So if you're disabled and unable to work, call now to get started with your free, no-obligation consultation. 800-477-5395. 800-477-5395. That's 800-477-5395.
Attention all timeshare owners. Is this what you'd like to do with your timeshare contract? Do you own a timeshare and just want out? Thousands of timeshare owners are getting out of their timeshare contracts with the help of Timeshare Compliance. Timeshare Compliance can legally terminate, tear up, shred, eliminate, trash your timeshare agreement, ending your payments forever, saving you thousands. So whether you're a victim of a high-pressure dishonest sales agent, or you were misled with what you were buying, or you overpaid and they underdelivered, call Timeshare Compliance now for a free consultation. With one simple call, the trusted professionals at Timeshare Compliance can legally rip off your timeshare agreement and help rip off your financial suffering. You could save thousands. Call now before another payment is due. Timeshare Compliance is A+ rated by the Better Business Bureau. Call 800-718-2963. 800-718-2963. 800-718-2963.
Tired of paying outrageous prices for Viagra? Well, we have great news. Now you can finally get Viagra at huge discounts.
Erickson.
Awesome.
It
Thank you.
allows you to save up to $650 on Viagra. Why pay name brand prices of $15 per pill or more when you can get the same results for less than $3 a pill? Call today and get 50 generic sildenafil pills for only $99. This can cost as much as $750 at your local pharmacy. You can't afford not to call us. If you want Viagra at the lowest price, never pay $15 a pill for the name brand again. Get generic sildenafil for less than $3 a pill. Call 800-450-5582 today and save up to $650 and get 50 pills for just $99. Generic sildenafil is fast, easy.
I love how we completely forgot about Brian Windhorst. He started talking about
I know.
5582. That's 800.
Well, I mean, this whole show is
82. Again,
everything we do is a rabbit hole. It's just a matter of when we jump in it.
Right.
Scratch
scratching beneath the surface. It's the second level on SB Nation Radio.
And on SBNationRadio.com.
Presented by Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loans. From the O'Reilly Auto Parts Studios, here,
Mike's hot.
Shander.
So we tried to make sense of the comments from Brian Windhorst late Friday night. We went through those extensively on yesterday's show, and some comments from Adam Silver in the major conference call, all the way down to what to expect moving forward. There are some other things happening, some positive things, of course, like Hall of Fame class getting announced. And for all things NBA, we turn to Eric Pincus, who joins us on the guest line. You can follow Eric on Twitter at Eric Pincus, B-Ball Insiders, NBA TV, Bleacher Report, Hollywood Hoops, everything, man. First and foremost, Eric, always a pleasure, but just making sure everything's good with you and yours.
Well, making the best of it, just spending a lot of time with the family, keeping busy, which is, a good thing. I'm still writing, still a lot to write on. Hopefully that'll continue if this thing drags on a bit, but, doing all right, hanging in.
Now, a lot of people, and I don't, so I ask, right? And I was talking to Kurt Heelan about this earlier today, and I'm curious because I know you have a family, you have kids, and just have you turned into a homeschooler, or are you able to hide now behind that? Wait, NBA's still going on. I got it right.
I do have to work a lot, so but I'm playing. It's like there are times where we can go outside and we have a hoop outside, so we all play.
Nice.
My wife is a yoga instructor, so she's doing family yoga. We're playing cards. You're catching up on shows, and I have 3 daughters, so each one has different interests. So it's not a bad thing that we're going through. Obviously, it is bad in other ways, but in this respect, I can't complain.
Is there one show that somebody in the household is going to watch when everybody sits down that you're dreading? A kid show or maybe another show like that?
They watch Dance Moms. Like, they just caught up. Like, they just streamed like a zillion. I don't know. That show's not even on the air anymore.
Dance Moms?
Yeah, I don't know. It was an obsession that they had for about 3 or 4 days. And then they were watching, because we got Disney Plus, they were watching, I don't know, God knows what it is. I'm just, some of the stuff I love that we watch. We watch some shows together. Like, my oldest is watching Ozark with me.
Awesome.
She's 16 and it's a little much, but, she's doing all right with it. I'm watching, Making the Cut with the middle one. And then the youngest, we watch all kinds of other shows. So, it's just, like I said, it's terrible what's going on in the world in a lot of ways, but, a chance to be with the family is not a bad thing.
Look, there are far worse things that you can binge watch with your daughter than Ozark. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, I like it. It's quite a show.
So you've caught up on everything, right?
I'm halfway through this current season.
Okay, well, I'm not going to spoil any. I'm just curious, and I promise I will pick your brain on the NBA, but just because I respect your opinion about everything going on, I'm curious what your thoughts are so far with this year's Ozark versus the other 2 seasons.
I'm enjoying it. I find it compelling that it's, without getting too much into detail, I like the character studies and seeing how, especially the female characters are so strong. It really is in a lot of ways, a really female-led cast with just, knockout actresses that just kill the show. So, I'm enjoying it. I've had a good time watching it.
You're right. That's we talked about this a lot last night, that very same theme about how it is a female-dominated show that doesn't even feel like it, like you're being hit over the head and reminded constantly. And I think a lot of that is because you have that might be one of the strongest collections, of female actresses in a show in the last couple of years.
Well, like I said, I have 3 daughters, and my wife has a very strong personality. So for me to be watching shows that have strong women, that's
you're used to it.
That's home for me. So, yeah, pretty much. It's all good.
Eric, I'm curious. What did you make from? Let's start with Adam Silver's comments, and I don't know why. Maybe we should start there. Why do you think the comment that came out from Adam Silver, reportedly telling the president in the conference call with all the different commissioners that he hopes the NBA and I guess other sports as well are leading the way in restarting the economy. It made sense, I guess, on the surface, which is, yeah, once sports return, it's going to be a great symbol for what we care about. And then also, even if it's a nice distraction, the fact that we have something we can look at as opposed to Ozark and reruns on TV. But it was kind of met with a cloud of confusion. Why do you think that?
Well, it's the logistics of making something like that happen where it succeeds. You can't just open up arenas with players and fans because it's not safe, right? And we've seen in other countries where they've got similar situations, China, I think the Japanese leagues, they've made efforts to try to open up again, and it keeps getting delayed. They're finding that just taking someone's temperature is not indicative of whether or not they have the coronavirus, because apparently you can be a carrier without being sick, more so than maybe they initially thought. And so, you know, I had written maybe a couple of weeks back that Las Vegas, you know, a centralized return could make a lot of sense. And then I thought about it and actually tweeted that, you know, the Mandalay Bay makes, you know, that's where the NBA does the G League Showcase, which is an annual event around December with the minor league, where they get all the teams together, almost 30, and they have, I think they had 6 courts this last time, 2 that were for games and 4 that were practice. And it's a really, you know, something that the NBA is used to doing, experienced doing. And my thought was, if you can just make a biodome with all the players, all of the support staff, all of the hotel staff, everybody enclosed in one space, and you have to get them through like a 2-3 week quarantine process to make that happen. In theory, it's possible, but think about how difficult that would be. And then, you know, how expensive, and then fine, it's worth the expense, but you have one incident, one person makes a mistake, and you could contaminate the entire NBA. And so Adam Silver, to me, is very much a proponent of getting the NBA back, because obviously, right?
Right.
But he's not somebody who's going to just rush to do it wrong, and then completely, you know, damage the health and safety of the players and the coaches and the referees and everybody involved, and certainly not going to get fans involved. So yes, in theory, of course, but how and when? And those are really the questions. And I will, one last point, the NBA has some time. The players have to agree to extending the season beyond June. It rolls over for the next year on June 30th to July 1st. That's when next season starts. So contracts would end and players would increment to the next contract. But if the union agrees to delay, then they could resume in July, August, September. It might start next season late, but it may be worth it. So there's a lot that we could talk about, but to just simplify and say, oh yeah, we'll be the first ones back and we just can't wait, it's just not an easy thing to just agree to.
Right. And I wonder if you look at the assumption, Eric, that both sides agree to temporarily postpone, right? So that you could maybe resume in July. You could even look at August. What's the drop date, or what's the phrase, like the drop dead date? What's the date in which you can't go any further? That's it. Like, all right, if we've hit August 29th, it doesn't matter if we're still waiting. We have to cancel the season.
Well, I think we can go to when we've had lockouts, and what both sides have, or at least what has always sort of been the drop dead date for a season is Christmas, right? That's for next season.
Right.
So they need to complete this season, have an off season, have training camp, and then get to the games so that next season can be played. And so, like in a lockout, sometimes we've had some preseasons that ran just about a week, very limited. You know, they've done it in the past. Usually those are under very different, you know, circumstances. Those are economic, labor disputes. But I feel like we need to have a month off, and so we need to say maybe we don't need that month off because we've had so much time off. So, I mean, if it was finished by October, I don't know if the NBA would agree with this. But in my mind, if you could finish by Halloween, right? So now you've got November to figure everything out and get to camp as of December 1st, I think that's reasonable. And look, we don't have to finish the regular season. And I know that's not what Blazer fans or Spurs fans or Kings fans, it's probably what the Grizzlies fans want to hear. You know, because they're on the border there, but they're on the right side of the bubble. If you had to, you could say, okay, the rest of the regular season is canceled. We're just going to go to playoffs. But that's a tough thing as well. I mean, you've been sitting for, let's say this picks up in August. You've been sitting since March. I mean, the players are going to want at least 3 or 4 weeks of training camp just to be able to play, and then you're just going straight into the playoffs. That's a lot to ask as well. So there's no good answer because we're faced with a really difficult, always miserable problem. And so they're talking about basketball and it's fun and it's sports. So even, as difficult as this is, doesn't really, pales in comparison to what's really going on in the world with people who are sick and many people are dying from this. So I'm not going to pretend that what we're talking about is important, but within this sphere of the NBA, this is a very difficult situation, a very complicated one to resolve, to get back to just day to day.
That's a great point you raise, Eric. And we had this quote from this doctor last night. He's a physician in Toronto and was speaking directly to the need of returning in the NHL and other sports versus what can be done with arenas and what can be done with places like stadiums. And I do wonder if it's even come up in conversations where if you're looking at a situation where we're still locked down, where we're still in quarantine, we're still waiting for this thing to get better. And unfortunately, we are in need of more space. If instead of trying to force even a neutral site, we're looking at arenas, Staples Center, MSG, Philadelphia, Wells Fargo, turning into auxiliary hospital sites as opposed to trying to rush back activity.
From the basketball point of view, to me, to put a basketball game on, it's really a collection of at least 100 people. The players, the people, everything from coaches and refs and statisticians and trainers and broadcast media, you name it, right? And then just the arena facility itself. People open up all these gyms. So that's why I thought, cut that out where you're not dealing with 29 really, because Lakers and Clippers share Staples Center, 29 arenas. Just hold it in one place. Hold it at the Mandalay Bay, because what you could do is the players can stay there, and then all of the staff that we talked about can stay there, and even all the people who are doing the housekeeping and the catering, everybody's there. No one leaves. No one comes in and out. That would allow. Those arenas are very valuable for a lot of reasons beyond sport. Dodger Stadium, Staples Center, all these, the Coliseum, all these are great facilities if needed, if it comes to that. And, God willing, it won't. And of course, we could talk about other states and other, some states are hit harder. I know New York City's hit a little, in Penn, I'm in MLA, and I think they're more spread out. So I think it's a little bit more natural, just by our culture, that we're not as in each other's face, that maybe we'll be better off, at least optimistically from an LA point of view. But I have a lot of sympathy for, I'm from New York originally, so there's a lot of family I have back there. So, the NBA Biodome concept could work, but again, it's like it has to be safe. And yeah, you can even say, well, are you testing up players, and does everybody who gets involved with it, everyone gets tests? And then you say, well, if other people are struggling and waiting in line to get tests, and people who need it can't get it, is it right that the NBA would
take away
priority to make their league happen? So just because it's money or the entertainment, all these things are important, but I can't speak on how it fits into the big picture. My job is to solve the NBA issues as a writer and as a journalist, but beyond that, it's certainly hard to say that the NBA should be more important than other people who are facing life or death situations.
Great point, Eric, and we'll end on that. Always appreciate the time, the insight. At Eric Pincus is how you can follow him. And look, granted, there are far worse things going on than us stuck being at home watching TV, but I still wish you the best through the next dance moms, okay?
Okay. Thanks for having me on. We'll talk.
You got it. Thanks, Eric. At Eric Pincus on Twitter. We'll wrap the show next.
This is Straight.
All right, buddy.
Kevin Durant went on the All the Smoke podcast and decided to tell why he left